new phone. Let's unbox it.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, October 17th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gibbo Nation Media Assassination episode 1182.
This is No Agenda.
We have a deal! And broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33, the frontier of Austin, Tejas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where he's proven himself to be a lizard by telling people to eat bugs. That's the Pope. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Well, now we have two things to start with.
Well, actually, we have a whole slew of things to start with. I have a list. Cummins died.
Yes, that's
the Pope
one.
wants us to eat bugs. Felicity Hoffman's his sentence is going to be cut.
And
we have a deal.
We have a deal.
We have a deal. Oh, by the way, Jordan Peterson movie came out to much controversy. And the guy who wrote the book about Sandy Hook being a hoax got sued and lost. And so I go to CNN to check these stories out. And, of course, what do I get there? Giuliani and Trump.
We have a deal, man. We have a deal. It was announced.
I saw the same announcement, apparently.
Yeah. Well, let's listen to it for the benefit of everybody.
We have a deal. And this deal means that there is no need for any kind of prolongation. And this is a fair, a balanced agreement. It is testament to our commitment to finding solutions. It provides certainty where Brexit creates uncertainty.
I love how Juncker is now also kind of doing this Anglicism, this Brexit.
Is that Juncker?
Yeah, it's Juncker. Brexit.
Oh, because the one I had was the other guy, the negotiator.
No. This is Boris and Juncker together.
It protects the rights of our citizens, and it protects peace and stability on the island of Ireland. There will be no border on the island of Ireland, and the single market will be protected. The deal is not about us. The deal is about people and peace. And I look forward to continue my conversations with Boris. Because we'll start the negotiations on the future relations immediately after the deal will have been approved. We'll start our debates on the 1st of November without interruption. And of course it is for both our parliaments to have the final say. It's not only Westminster having to approve the deal being in fact the treaty. It's also up to the European Parliament to do the same. So thank you, Boris, for, I have to say, excellent relations we had throughout the last.
So as it turns out, after all, it was just about the backstop deal, apparently, or I think, as I heard Juncker say, the island of Ireland. Okay. Here is Boris Johnson's little statement.
Thank you, Jean-Claude. And can I pay a particular tribute to you, Jean-Claude, and also, of course, to Michel Barnier and all your team, Michel, in the negotiating team in the Commission. And I do think that this deal represents a very good deal both for the EU and for the UK. And it's a reasonable, fair outcome and reflects the large amount of work that's been undertaken by both sides. And I agree very much, Jean-Claude, with what you said about protecting the peace process in the island of Ireland and in Northern Ireland. And, of course, for us in the UK, it means that we can deliver a real Brexit that achieves our objectives. And it means that the UK leaves whole and entire on October the 31st, and it means that Northern Ireland and every other part of the UK can take part not just in free trade deals, offering our tariffs, exporting our goods around the world, but it also means that we can take together as a single united kingdom decisions about our future, about our laws, our borders, our money, and how we want to run the UK.
Well. So they still all have to vote on it, the UK Parliament and the EU Parliament, and we shall see if that actually happens. What was kind of fun. This was the end of the press briefing. And so Boris ended it, but apparently King Jean-Claude still had something to say. Listen to this elitist douchebag.
And we look forward to working with you in building that partnership in the weeks and months to come. Thank you all very much.
That's how he addresses the press, and they call Trump a moron. Hey!
Thank you all very much.
I have
Jean-Claude's the boss here.
Whoops.
I have to say that I'm happy about the deal, but I'm sad about Brexit. Have a good time.
Thank you.
Oh, brother, has to get the last word.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Bernier's the one
yeah, he's the EU negotiator
that I listened to describe what it was, and it seems acceptable, except for the fine print that they don't discuss. Who knows what else is in there?
Yeah, we have no idea what's in there. Of course not, and it doesn't matter because UK Parliament, I'm sure, will just delay it. Oh no, this is no good. It's already everyone's. this is worse than May's deal.
Yeah, that's probably right there.
It's probably true.
Worse than May's deal. Exactly what you're going to hear. Somehow it's worse.
What I always find so interesting in this age of democracy and how everything has to be the rule of law and the people decide and the majority of people voted for Clinton. The people. But when it comes to the United Kingdom, this anachronism of the royal family just baffles me every time that people look at that with a straight face and say, oh, yeah, this is just ceremonial. It doesn't really mean much. There was the Queen earlier this week opening up Parliament with her $50 million crown light because she can't wear the full crown anymore because her head and her neck are snap. So they carry the big crown around on a red velvet pillow, and she's sitting on her throne addressing Parliament.
My lords and members of the House of Commons, my government's priority...
I love it. My government's priority, not yours, you sheeple.
...has always been to secure the United Kingdom's departure from the European Union on the 31st of October. My government intends to work towards a new partnership with the European Union based on free trade and friendly cooperation. My ministers will work to implement new regimes for fisheries, agriculture and trade, seizing the opportunities that arise from leaving the European Union. An immigration bill ending free movement will lay the foundation for a fair, modern and global immigration system. My government remains committed to ensuring that resident European citizens who have built their lives in and contributed so much to the United Kingdom have the right to remain.
All right.
The bill will include measures that reinforce this commitment. My lords and members of the House of Commons, other measures will be laid before you. I pray that the blessing of Almighty God may rest upon your councils.
Yes, my government. My government. No one ever bats an eye at that anymore. My government. My lords. Okay. All right. Fine. That's good.
Fact is fact.
Yes, 'tis.
People want to ignore it, but there it is.
So how long, or maybe it's already started, how long until the U.S. press starts bitching at Trump about not immediately saying something nice and fawning about, what's his name? Elijah Cummings.
I think he's already said something nice and fawning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it won't be enough.
Oh, no, of course not. It wasn't fast enough.
Whatever it is, it won't be enough. He was horrible. He sent him to the grave. I'm waiting for someone to say that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's got to happen.
Trump, gave him so much stress, sent him to the grave.
Well, maybe they'll come up with a Trump hit list, the way they did the Clintons.
So it's going to be interesting because now, Elijah Cummings is really throwing a wrench into the works. You cannot ignore this man. You cannot not ignore his role in in the civil rights movement. It can't be ignored. So they'll have to break out packages, do all kinds of stuff, and that takes away from Trump, which is a problem. Or as CNN would say, it takes away from impeachment.
Well, from what I can tell, they're not going to break away. Cummings he died at the wrong time if he wants to get some attention.
No, well, it's going to, well, you'll see. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for them because he was also staunchly, maybe they could just do packages of him yelling at Trump. That would be useful.
That could be.
You know, I've watched, I think was it 2? I don't know if the third one's come out. These Project Veritas videos where they go undercover.
That's CNN.
And surprise, surprise, CNN is biased. No. What?
Yeah.
I mean, holy moly.
Good work.
But what was nice about it is, so we have audio, although completely unusable. Always my complaint about Project Veritas. The audio is so unusable. If you don't have the subtitles on the screen, you really don't know what's being said. So we heard Jeff Zucker in the Monday meeting saying, it's all about impeachment. Keep it on impeachment. We're going to go with impeachment. I don't care what the story is, impeachment. But they do follow orders there at CNN.
The Impeachment Inquiry. Stay updated, stay informed with up-to-the-minute breaking news and analysis. There's only one place for it all. CNN.com/impeachment.
Oh, wow. CNN.com/impeachment. Podcasts, breaking news on every hour, impeachment all the time. Yeah, now they're pushing, man. They really want to ram it into everybody's head that Trump is above the law. At least he feels he's above the law, cannot be above the law, has sacrificed our national security, is killing the Kurds. We must impeach. We must impeach him.
There's actually no evidence that even one Kurd has died, by the way.
No. Well, hello. Yeah, I have a lot on Syria. We don't have to get into it now, but actually maybe we should do this. So yesterday there was this flurry of activity all of a sudden, and everything starts lighting up because apparently Nancy Pelosi was so insulted she walked out of the meeting with Trump. A horrible man.
And she said he melted down, and he said she melted down.
Well, let's listen to the...
What a gabagoo that's got to be.
So right after this event, right in front of the White House, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Steny Hoyer all come out and call each other leader all the time. This is very interesting. I will talk to Leader Schumer, Leader Pelosi, Leader Hoyer. You're chosen representatives. You're not leaders. I'm a little tired of this leader talk. And, everyone's talking about, Republicans and their dear leader Trump. The only people using the word leader are Democrats, consistently.
In Syria, it calls upon the president to urge the Turks to exercise restraint, for us to have humanitarian assistance to some of the Kurds. Children are being killed there. And very...
Some of the Kurds' children are being killed there. John, do you not have a report of the Kurdish children being slaughtered, massacred, killed?
Kurds' children are being killed there. And very, very importantly, and most importantly, it asks for a clear plan on how we're going to fight ISIS.
Now, and as for some context, the only reason Pelosi and Schumer were meeting with the president was to say, hey, we just had a very important vote in Congress, in the House of Representatives, and it's not a bill or anything. It's a resolution, which is kind of an official document saying, hey, here's what we think, as if we hadn't heard it on every cable news channel. And what they think is that it's a very bad idea that Trump had pulled out the troops, or is pulling them out, the no boots on the ground troops we've had there apparently, because it's going to kill the Kurds. And at the very last sentence, indeed, was, well, we'd like to know what the plan is. So they voted on that. Oh, I'm glad you took the time to do that.
I think that vote, the size of the vote, more than 2-1 of the Republicans voted to oppose what the president did. probably got to the president because he was shaken up by it. And that's why we couldn't continue in the meeting, because he was just not relating to the reality of it. Again, we are proud of our men and women in uniform. Those who have been in Syria have conducted themselves in a way that makes us all very proud, and I conveyed that to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. We had some questions about ISIS, and I'm going to defer to distinguished leader from New York, from the Senate from New York, who focused on ISIS in the meeting.
Herr Leader. Herr Schumer, der Leader, he will talk to us about that.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker.
Leader.
Thank you, Leader Hoyer.
Leader.
I told the president that being from New York, as he was, we're particularly aware of the problems, the terrorism that an organization like ISIS can create.
See, now this is the next push in the impeachment crescendo, is to now say that the president is in effect bringing ISIS back to America.
And the fact that someone no less than General Mattis has said that ISIS has been enhanced, that the danger of ISIS is so much greater, worries all of us. I asked the president what his plan was to contain ISIS. He didn't really have one. He said the Turks and the Syrians will guard the ISIS prisoners. I said, is there any intelligence evidence that the Turks and the Syrians will have the same interest that the Kurds or we did in guarding ISIS? And the Secretary of Defense was, thank God he was honest, he said, we don't have that evidence. And so I said, then how can we think that this is a plan when there are Syrians and Turks who are not our friends, who ISIS, if they escape, does them very little harm? How can we let this happen? They didn't have any good answer. This is appalling. The president had no plan, no real plan for containing ISIS other than relying on the Syrians and the Turks. Then why did we spend a decade, billions of dollars, and lost lives in trying to curtail ISIS if on a phone call, on a whim, the president is going to undo all of that and turn this over to the Turks and the Syrians?
Well, I'll tell you why we spent 10 years doing that. Because we were told that Assad, the horrible dictator, was killing his own people, gassing women and children. Now, all of a sudden, it's about ISIS, and they might come to America? Ow!
Yay.
ISIS. We will follow them to the gates of hell. ISIS. I feel good.
Of course, our only mission there was to train the YPG, PKK, whatever you want to call them today. And these ISIS prisoners, they have European passports. So where are they going to go if they escape? They're going to go to Europe. I don't think they'll be going to the United States.
There's very few. There's one or two Americans in there, and that's we had that clip of one of our CBS correspondents having a discussion with the American, and he felt he was fine going back to the U.S. It wasn't going to be terrorist U.S. There's a blogger. I don't know how this is going to sound, but she's one of those bloggers who. She's been around. She's one of those bloggers who, looks for a bucket to throw her mic into, and then figures that's good sound. This is a Syrian girl, and she has some interesting points to make about. And she could be just a spook.
Yeah,
but she has some points. But it's good to listen to her once. Well, here's her points about the Kurds.
You were lied into believing that the Kurds were fighting for a national liberation. The truth is that the reason Kurds don't have a country is because they were nomadic until World War I. They never settled in one place and built cities. The land that they moved into was already inhabited by some of the oldest civilizations in the world: Anatolians, Syrians, Armenians, and Assyrians. They wanted to build a state at the expense of these indigenous people. Yet another lie you were being told is that Syria's Christians want the US to stay to help them stay safe from Turkey. No, the Assyrian Christians are saying they want the US out and the Syrian army in. The truth is, the Assyrian Christians were already being ethnically cleansed by the Kurdish militias alongside other minorities. They've been shutting down their schools, forcibly disarming their militias. Assyrian Christian fighters have been assassinated because Kurds are not a majority in the areas that they want to control. They wanted to push out other minorities in order to become a majority. What is right is that every part of Syria belongs to every Syrian, no matter their ethnicity or religion. The Assyrian Christians say that the Syrian army are the only people they can trust to ensure this.
You know, the White House released this letter that he sent to Erdogan. And in it, he says, by the way, you know, what's the guy's name? The general, Mazloum. He said, well, it's actually General Mazloum Kobani Adi. And in April, Mazloum was already saying, hey, you know, we can do this. You know, it's all right. We're good. We're gonna find our own plan here with Turkey. In April. So this has been going on for a while, and it's certainly, at least international people have been aware that this idea has been out there for a while. I mean, I missed it. I went and after the president's note said, "Look at the general agrees with you guys working something out." And I went back and looked. I said, "This has been going on for a while." Of course, we don't get much of that because news.
No, and when they have to discuss it, they gin it up with like that Kentucky film, which was just embarrassing. In fact, Trump bitched about it directly to the media.
What Kentucky film? What Kentucky film?
The Kentucky gun range.
Oh, the ABC fake
ABC
phony
report
video. Yeah.
And by the way, everyone who's seen this says, "Geez, we got to go to this event."
Tracer fire at night.
It's unbelievable. It's quite exciting. But here's Trump calling out ABC on Syria.
Hold on. Okay. Oops.
Even after all you have seen, prisoners freed, all the humanitarian disaster, you don't have any regret for giving Erdogan the green light to invade?
I didn't give him a green light.
Well, did you tell him?
That's the same thing as you just, when you make a statement like that, it's so deceptive. Just the opposite of a green light. First of all, we had virtually no soldiers there. They were mostly gone. Just a tiny little group. And they would have been in harm's way. You have a massive army on the other side of the border. But more importantly, I didn't give him a green light. And if anybody saw the letter, which can be released very easily if you'd like, I could certainly release it. But I wrote a letter right after that conversation, a very powerful letter. There was never given a green light. They've been wanting to do that for years, and frankly, they've been fighting for many, many years. And when you ask a question like that, it's very deceptive, John. It's almost as deceptive as you showing all of the bombings taking place in Syria, and it turned out that the bombing that you showed on television took place in Kentucky. So, and I'm not even sure that ABC apologized for that, but certainly it was a terrible thing. I'm looking at this, I'm saying, wow, that's pretty bad. And it was in Kentucky, it wasn't in Syria, so I don't know what you're going to do about that, but I think ABC owes an apology.
And blow me.
I couldn't find an apology either.
There was a tweet that, about a mistake. It has been corrected, but it wasn't really an apology for, clearly very poor reporting. Let me go back to...
It was deceptive. It was beyond poor reporting.
And go back to the post meltdown meeting. Here is, to wind this up, Leader Pelosi.
I would also say one other thing.
Oh. Wait, maybe it's... no, this is Schumer saying how incredibly rude the president was. It was just horrible.
I would also say one other thing. He was insulting, particularly to the speaker.
Oh.
She kept her cool completely, but he called her a third-rate politician. He said that there are communists involved and you guys might like that. I mean, this was not a dialogue. It was sort of a diatribe, a nasty diatribe, not focused on the facts, particularly the fact of how to curtail ISIS, a terrorist organization that aims to hurt the United States in our homeland.
Yes, they're coming. They're coming
homeland.
Under every bush. And It's so interesting that, and I believe he said it. I'm sure he said, you're a third-rate politician, Nancy. And maybe you'd love those ISIS guys. Some of them are communists. I mean, I don't know if it quite weighs up against you're a rapist, a criminal, you put the country in harm's way, you're a traitor, you're treasonous. It's almost the same thing.
Not quite. They should look in the mirror, these folk.
But there's a little bit of a conspiracy theory out there, if you don't mind, just for 1 second. Just pop on the glasses. Did you get your Q glasses on?
No, I didn't. I can't find them.
Oh, well, tell me when you're ready, and then we'll put them on.
Hold on a second. They're probably under this pile of paper.
Mine are already on. It's pretty colors.
Wait, what's this? Is this them? No, that's the Hillary pen. Oh, I got them. Here they are.
All right, perfect. There is a conspiracy theory that Nancy Pelosi sent out the bat signal for harm to come to the 45th president of the United States. And she did this with some very clear signaling during one of her many appearances yesterday regarding the bracelet.
To me, it was a small bill. In terms of guns, again, as I said to some of you earlier, this is a bullet. I was in Florida it was all over the country, but when I was in Florida, I received this from Frederica Wilson, my colleague. Bracelets are made with bullets in the color orange, which is the color of gun violence protection. I told the president, we're not going away.
A bracelet made of bullets in the color orange.
Okay, that's code? Oh, orange.
Hello.
Oh, orange man bad.
Yes, exactly. Orange man bad. A bracelet made of bullets.
That's a good conspiracy theory out of the blue.
Yeah, well, it came from, Q is gone, I guess, after 8chan was taken down, and I don't know. There's lots of Qs popping up, but I like that. I thought this one was pretty good. There you go, Nancy. And since when did who chose orange as the color of gun violence? Who makes these color decisions?
It's code.
Yeah, it has to be code.
I never heard this.
Has to be code.
Yeah, I never heard this.
I have...
that's interesting.
I have 2 more clips about Syria and Turkey. The first is Stephen Cook. He's from the Council on Foreign Relations. Short clip, but I think it's kind of interesting.
And when President Erdogan sees, Russian soldiers doing selfies in a previous U.S. base, what does he make of that?
Well, it's clear that the Russians have now positioned themselves as a force for stability of all things in the region. The Russians want to put themselves in between Turkish forces and Syrian regime forces to ensure that there is no fight there. The Russians are going to play every end of the stick here to their advantage. Now, Erdogan has no Washington to go back to for leverage with the Russians. The Russians can play him like a fiddle.
Stephen Cook, thank you so much for being with us.
Sounds like the plan is working. Of course the Russians are going to come in. I have not heard anything on MSNBC, CNN, or Fox about the Russians and their deep water port in Syria. This is part of why
forever.
It's part of why all of this started.
They've been a long-term ally with each other.
Yes.
So what's new?
No, nothing's new, but they don't talk about these things. They
don't. They have. I get the sense that whoever's orchestrating all the talking points has been
high.
They haven't gotten their act together. They've been high.
Hey man, let's put some more talking points. I know.
Get it.
Hey man, Bob Menendez is going to be on with Pooper. Let's give him some talking points.
You yourself tweeted that listening to the president made you feel deeply concerned for the country. Can you talk about what happened in the meeting, what you saw?
Oh, the meeting.
Well, from the moment the president came in, I would describe him as belligerent. He smacked down a series of files on the table and said, well, you all asked for this meeting. I reluctantly gave it to you. And Speaker Pelosi said, well, with all due respect, Mr. President, we didn't ask for a meeting with you. We asked for a briefing from the Secretaries of Defense, State, and Intelligence to understand the consequences of the actions you took. And then he said, well, then let's end the meeting. And she said, well, while I'm here as the Speaker, I have an obligation to tell you that the House just voted 350 some odd to, I forget exactly what the amount was, but it was an overwhelming bipartisan vote to disapprove the actions that you took in Syria. And then he got that devolved into that's nothing but a hit job on the Republicans. And she said, well, many Republicans joined us. And then he called Speaker Pelosi a third-rate politician. He said that the Kurds were nothing but communists, and all of us Democrats who were seated there must be happy with that, suggesting that we all subscribe to that view of being communists. And then, it was belligerent and something I have never seen in 27 years here in Congress and serving under 4 different presidents. I've never seen a moment like this.
That's not how these meetings usually go?
No. Well, not with other presidents. I mean,
nice,
I've had presidents from Clinton to Bush to Obama and now Trump. I was in the White House with President Bush when he was president. We might have disagreements, but one, it was never disagreeable, and always it was respectful, and there was exchanges of views.
So there's no reporting. This is silly. This is stupid. It's a big charade. And Nancy stormed out because he called her a third-rate politician. And it's all just a part of the, as I said earlier, the crescendo, the culmination to get public support for Orange Man bad, impeachment good. And they'll probably get there. If they keep pushing in December, I think that they'll be able to.
They're painting themselves into a corner. They're going to. I don't know why they're taking so long.
Because she doesn't have the votes. I mean, of course, a ton of Republicans who are
they say they have the votes. It looks like they have the votes. They got the votes
to get Republicans they will not do that. Not in the House, not in the Senate. A couple, I'm sure.
The Senate, I'm with you on the Senate, but the House, they've got the votes.
Well, I'm not so sure they do.
I'm convinced of it. The Senate, no.
Well, it doesn't
Unless
matter.
They do a secret ballot.
But let's just do, all these subpoenas, and it's all these lies. This is a true conspiracy to, we're subpoenaing everybody, and the Trump is obstructing. The Trump is obstructing. That's a new one. New name. That's his new name. The Trump is obstructing by not letting people adhere to the subpoenas. But these are not. It may say subpoena, but it's not an official subpoena. You don't get that until you take the impeachment vote. Then you have subpoena power. You can't just say, it's just a lie. There's no subpoenas that are legally enforceable. They're just calling it a subpoena. They might even write subpoena on the envelope. But until you have the vote, you can't issue subpoenas for impeachment. So something has to happen. And it looks like this was, they're going to try. I think Elijah Cummings messed it up. Unless they can spin it into, Trump killed him, which I think you can make the case.
Well, they're going to have a hard time making that case because that's going to detract from they're trying to focus for a change. I mean, if we go over the Trump rotation, TrumpRotation.com for anyone out there who hasn't looked at it, and you look at the laundry list, they can't seem to focus on anything to get this guy.
Right.
So this is the hardest this is the most effort they've ever put into any one thing. And now the Cummings thing is, oh,
damn you, Cummings.
It's not helping.
It's like spray and pray.
I don't know if you want to make that a jumping off point for the debates because I have an impeach medley.
Okay. Did you make this impeach medley?
No, I did not. I stole this.
Okay. What's it titled?
Debate. I got all these debates.
Debates. Okay. All right. Well, let's do some debate stuff. I watched,
let's talk about that. Well, then before we do that, then we can go over some pre-clip research, which I did.
Okay.
Offhanded research. This is not the kind of thing we should be doing this more often, but I did it this time. I download the entire transcript and looked for keywords.
How about the word look?
64 times.
And everybody was doing it. Look. And it's so stupid because I thought about this. If one person had said, listen, that would have been so effective.
No, it's 64 times somebody said, look. And it was all of them. I couldn't really pin it on anyone. Right is another one, including all right was 87.
Oh, my.
So right. So you have 87 of those. You have, curiously, there was only 4 fact of the matters.
But they were all from Bernie and Joe?
All from Joe.
All from Joe.
No Bernie.
Yeah, this is good.
There was also a here's the deal 3 times.
Joe.
Exactly. Trump was referenced 84 times, with corruption 15 times.
How about at the end of the day? That was in there a couple times.
I didn't look up end of the day. I did look up impeachment, which was 43.
Mm-hmm.
I've also got which I thought was very distressing. Because this is kind of like, street talk from athletes in the 70s. Right. And who was
look
34 times mostly? Who was the offender? Warren.
Yeah.
4 of the formed. What? Warren, Booker, and Klobuchar and Sanders all said, what?
You know what?
No, it's like, what? You know what? Like a kid says, you know what?
Yeah.
And
You're wrong.
And then, you know what? And the other one was guess what? Which is another thing a 12-year-old says. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what?
And guess what? That's wrong.
Biden 3, Klobuchar 1 on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that you can get, you should be able to guess who's the big offender for this. Warren.
Yeah,
she not only says so, but she also says so look 3 times total. So here's one of her quotes. So look, I want to get what work's done.
That's leader talk right there, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to do, I guess.
Total words for the whole debate with 32,000, which is a very small book.
Mm-hmm.
Climate change was mentioned 3 times.
Very, yeah.
Billion and billionaires was mentioned 26 times.
Sure. By Warren. Mainly by Warren.
Actually, it was mostly by Bernie.
You know what really is so odd as I was thinking about this morning? I mean, obviously, we live in America, and this is a WWE format. It's completely like wrestling. But if the
cage match.
Yeah. I mean, this campaign and everything is running up to more than, of course, but we're still a full year ahead of the election. There's plenty of time, and it can be on C-SPAN. That would be an idea. You could have every single one of these candidates debate each other in an hour-long actual debate format, mano a mano, one-on-one, and anyone who's interested could go see it, and the mainstream media could still pull clips from it and do little sound bites. That's what we should be demanding. Let's have an actual debate. This is not a debate. This is insulting to anyone's intelligence who is actually interested in what these people have to say. And there's no reason why we wouldn't be able to do that. And it's not the media's fault. It's the DNC, the Democratic National Committee.
Tom Perez.
They don't want that to happen. In fact, it was someone mentioned, I think it might have been, was it Tulsi? And now I can't remember if it was on the debate or not, but someone said, hey, I'd really like the League of Women Voters to come in and take a hold of these debates. And it was Tulsi, but she was on an interview somewhere. He said, I've asked the League of Women Voters to take over the televised.
They used to do the
I
debates.
know they left out of disgust. They left. They were the ones that set it up, and then once it became this mainstream, only 2 parties get to do a debate. The League of Women Voters said, "See ya," and they left. And it is so insulting. It's just insulting what they're doing, and it's not even good television anymore.
Well, no, it's not.
That's the most insulting part to me.
Let's go to the impeach medley just pretty long.
It's all right. We'll take a listen.
2 years ago, I started the Need to Impeach movement because I knew there was something desperately wrong at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Impeachment is the way that we establish that this man will not be permitted to break the law over and over without consequences.
Our framers imagined this moment, a moment where we would have a corrupt president. And our framers then rightly designed our system of democracy to say there will be checks and balances. This is one of those moments.
I support impeachment, but we shouldn't have any illusions that impeaching Donald Trump will, one, be successful, or two, erase the problems that got him elected in 2016.
We have to impeach this president, and the majority of Americans not only support impeachment, they support removal. He should be removed.
The president has left the Congress with no choice. And this is not just about holding the president accountable for not just the things emerging in these investigations, but actions that he has confessed to on television.
It is absolutely imperative we go forward with impeachment. I hope that he is impeached. But I think what would be a disaster if the American people believe that all we were doing is taking on Trump.
I swore an oath to do my job as a senator, do my duty. This president has violated his. I will do mine.
If the House votes to impeach, the Senate does not vote to remove Donald Trump, he walks out and he feels exonerated, further deepening the divides in this country that we cannot afford.
We do not hold him to account if there is not justice. Not only have we failed this moment, our Constitution and our country, but we have failed everyone who has sacrificed and laid their lives down on the line. And we cannot do that.
Well, I said from the beginning that if, in fact, Trump continued to stonewall what the Congress is entitled to know about his background, what he did, all the accusations in the Mueller report, if they did that, they would have no choice but to begin an impeachment proceeding.
I would like to hear from him about how coddling up to Vladimir Putin makes America great again. It doesn't make America great again. It makes Russia great again.
This is about Donald Trump, but understand, it's about the next president and the next president and the next president and the future of this country.
Because a president 10 years or 100 years from now will look back at this moment and draw the conclusion either that no one is above the law or that a president can get away with anything.
By the way, overnight ratings are in. New low for debate ratings. The previous debate, which was that ABC, I believe?
Maybe.
Yeah, they had 10.7 million viewers. CNN, 8 million viewers. So they can't.
Well, that's more than I thought they'd get.
Well, it doesn't really matter. It was a bad product. It's just a bad product. Give me one flag, too. I'm starting to notice this stuff ever since you turned me on to it. Not a single stars and stripes anywhere. They don't have to, but it just kind of seems if you're going to dress it up as something America, then you should do something about it. It's just me. All right.
I got a good one here. I mean, I have a whole bunch of these clips.
I have a couple, just some lighthearted ones, so I can intersperse that if you've got some things that you want to get out. I have
a couple that caught. Let me go into the strongest ones. Well, actually, let's listen to Tulsi with her long pause before she decides. The people putting on this debate is CNN and the New York Times.
Yeah.
So Tulsi decides to slam them for good reason, and I'm surprised she should have asked for an apology on the spot.
By the way, let's just go back for a second. The television portion. Erin Burnett, who looks much better than she did, say, a year ago. So she's cleaned up and she's looking good, but she's sitting, and it was almost like an optical illusion. The way the camera shot was set up when they introduced her and Anderson and the New York Times guy. She looks bigger than both of them put together. It was very unfriendly for her. It was like, holy crap! Look at these two little minuscule dudes sitting next to her.
She's a big woman.
Well, I don't think she is, but
she's not. She's not.
They made her look that way. It was nasty. So CNN, and of course you've got the New York Times guy, Eric. Was that his name, Eric?
I don't know who was that guy. He was just kind of a dud.
He's a drip. He's a journo. He's not
a drip. He was a drip.
A drip. So Tulsi's going to slam them here.
Last week, you said that American troops should get out of Syria now. You don't agree with how the president handled the withdrawal. what would you have done differently? How would you have pulled out troops without the bloodshed we're seeing now?
Oh, first of all, we've got to understand the reality of the situation there, which is that the slaughter of the Kurds being done by Turkey is yet another negative consequence of the regime change war that we've been waging in Syria. Donald Trump has the blood of the Kurds on his hand, but so do many of the politicians in our country from both parties who have supported this ongoing regime change war in Syria that started in 2011, along with many in the mainstream media who have been championing and cheerleading this regime change war. Not only that, but New York Times and CNN have also smeared veterans like myself for calling for an end to this regime change war. Just 2 days ago, the New York Times put out an article saying that I'm a Russian asset and an Assad apologist and all these different smears. This morning, a CNN commentator said on national television that I'm an asset of Russia. Completely despicable. As president, I will end these regime change wars by doing two things. Ending the draconian sanctions that are really a modern-day siege, the likes of which we are seeing Saudi Arabia wage against Yemen, that have caused tens and thousands of Syrian civilians to die and to starve. And I would make sure that we stop supporting terrorists like al-Qaeda in Syria, who've been the ground force in this ongoing regime change war. I'd like to ask Senator Warren if she would join me in calling for an end to this regime change war in Syria, finally.
So look, I think that we ought to get out of the Middle East. I don't think we should have troops in the Middle East. But we have to do it the right way, the smart way.
It was interesting. A couple of different candidates tried this. I want you to say, this is a new trick, by the way. I want you to sign up with me for this. Will you admit to this? I mean, I'm even getting people on Twitter doing this. So, Adam Curry, wouldn't you agree that? It's like, block. Get out of my feed.
It's kind of the Lindsey Graham approach to asking questions. Wouldn't you agree that? Is the way he starts his question with.
Yeah. I was insulted by Andrew Yang.
Oh, you have the clip?
But we also have to be realistic that competition doesn't solve all of the problems. It's not like any of us wants to use the fourth best navigation app. There's a reason why no one is using Bing today. Sorry, Microsoft.
Just Bing it. Just Bing it.
Very insulting. We love the Bings.
We use Bing.
I could not believe.
We're not nobodies.
There's a reason why nobody uses Bing. That'd be us. But he went on to say something that I agree with to a degree, and it's about breaking up big tech, because that's where this all came from. And Elizabeth Warren is all about break them up. We'll break up the big tech.
So it's not like breaking up these big tech companies will revive Main Street businesses around the country. And as the parent of two young children, I'm particularly concerned about screen use and its effect on our children. Studies clearly show that we're seeing record levels of anxiety and depression coincident with smartphone adoption and social media use. Breaking up the tech companies does nothing to make our kids healthier. What we have to do is we have to home in on the specific problems we're trying to solve and use 21st century solutions for 21st century problems. Using a 20th century antitrust framework will not work.
Now, while I agree with him that using antitrust will not work, he puts the blame on the phone somehow. And I would say the following. You don't need to break up big tech. You need to break up with big tech. This is not like television where you can only get so many channels and there's limited resource. This is the internet. Anybody can post anything they want anywhere. It doesn't have to be on Twitter. Unless you have some ego issue where you need to have your voice heard consistently and liked, etc. Break up with big tech. Don't break up big tech. And this guy also has no plans. What a fool. I mean, a fool. Just a fool.
A lot of people love that guy.
Yeah, well, I'm not so in love with him. He's a douche.
So I was looking at, I have a couple of clips here that I want to do a little deeper dive on.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I looked at all the fact check. They had all these fact check
false.
Mm-hmm.
And they had these going live, and the stuff that they fact checked was they missed. We looked at the obvious ones that needed to be fact checked. But in fact, they did no fact checking. They just saw a few things. If the guy wasn't slamming Trump correctly,
right,
then they'd fact check. In fact, the last Tulsi clip, there was a huge mistake she made in there. Do you remember what it was?
No.
It was obvious to me when she said it. She said that the battle, the maiming, killing, and fighting in Yemen has resulted in all these Syrian deaths.
Yeah, no, I did hear that, and that was just a complete faux pas.
Yeah, it was a faux pas.
Yeah, they should have fact checked. Fact check, false.
So let's listen to a couple of things here. Let's listen to this one. This is Biden. This is debate Biden on George Washington.
Okay.
My son's statement speaks for itself. What I think is important is we focus on why it's so important to remove this man from office. On the 17th, look, the fact that George Washington worried on the first time he spoke after being elected president that what we had to worry about is foreign interference in our elections. It was the greatest threat to America. This president on three occasions, has invited foreign governments and heads of government to get engaged in trying to alter our elections.
And this is why you sent me a link to drop into the show notes.
Exactly. I have George Washington's speech. And I'll read what he said again. Look, my son did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I carried out the policy of the United States government in rooting out corruption in the Ukraine. And that's what we should be focusing on. He says, my son's statement speaks for itself. He spoke about it today. My son's statement speaks for itself. He actually repeats himself there. Mm-hmm. What I think is important is that we focus on why it's so important to remove this man from office. So he's just lost it. So he's lost his train of thought, and he says this. The fact that George Washington worried on the first time he spoke about being elected president, this was what he actually said. It's just like his gobbledygook. That we had to worry, he used the word again, he said we had to worry about is. I'm telling you, this is priceless.
Wait a minute, that's in that clip we just heard?
Yeah, if you listen to it word for word.
Isn't it amazing how your brain will put such disparate...
Yeah, you piece a lot of it together when you listen to him talk, but what he said was, on the first time he spoke after being elected president, we had to worry about is foreign interference in our elections. It was the greatest threat to America. This president on three occasions, has invited foreign governments and heads of government to get engaged. Now, the three occasions, by the way, you remember what those are? I do.
The three
One where he jokingly said, Russia, if you've got the 30,000 emails, release them.
Yeah.
That's one.
That's one.
Two was when he asked the Ukrainian guy, hey, if you get a chance, look into the Bidens.
Yeah.
And three was when he said just out casually to China, and I want to just say casually to China, look into the Bidens. So those are the three things.
Impeach!
Meanwhile, George Washington got his speech. He says the word foreign is not used in the speech. The foreign intervention is not used in the speech. The word intervention is not used in the speech. He talks nothing about this. This is a lie.
He talks about emoluments.
This is an absolute lie. The real speech, which we have in the show notes, talks about how God is great and how God is overseeing the country and guiding us with his invisible hand. That's pretty much what the speech is. This is his first speech after he got elected. It's his inaugural address.
Except for the end of that talks about emoluments and his business dealings. I thought that was kind of interesting. The very end of his speech.
Who?
Of George Washington's speech. Yeah, I mean, I've read it. You sent me the thing. I'm reading through this. I'm like, I don't get it. I thought it was going to be about emoluments. Of course, there's nothing in there about being worried about foreign intervention or no,
nothing. And then if you start thinking about it, if you're thinking about it historically, whenever did any president before just recently ever discuss or care about foreign intervention, let alone George Washington? So this was a blatant lie.
Well, Joe did a lot of lying. He lied about assault weapons, all kinds of stuff.
Was that particular incident called out by these fact checkers? Fact checkers?
No. But more equally interesting to me was how Anderson Cooper framed that question. And I just want us to listen to that. This is a televised debate. We want to hear what people have to say. He's going at the former vice president with a tough question, which will not be answered, but it's a tough question, and here's how he frames it.
The impeachment inquiry is centered on President Trump's attempts to get political dirt from Ukraine on Vice President Biden and his son Hunter. Mr. Vice President, President Trump has falsely accused your son of doing something wrong while serving on a company board in Ukraine. I want to point out there's no evidence of wrongdoing by either one of you. Having said that, on Sunday, you announced that...
Well, I don't know if Anderson considers himself a journalist, but I think that's kind of unjournalistic. I'm
actually kind of shocked that I didn't catch that.
Well, you should.
It was terrible. That clip proves that the bias is ridiculous. But let me go into my second fact check clips.
Fact check false.
Okay.
This is we're going to go debates. This is Kamala on Donald Trump.
Pelosi has said that members of Congress have to be, in her words, fair to the president and give him a chance to exonerate himself. You've already said that based on everything you've seen, you would vote to remove him from office. Is that being fair to the president?
Well, it's just being observant because he has committed crimes in plain sight. I mean, it's shocking, but he told us who he was. Maya Angelou told us years ago, listen to somebody when they tell you who they are the first time. During that election, Donald Trump told us he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it.
That's right. Nailed it.
Wrong.
Oh, do you mean it's a...
Fact check false?
Oh, do tell.
But that, again, nobody put this in their fact check list because it didn't work
Trump,
in the scheme of things. Here's Trump's clip with what he actually said.
And he has...
Oops. Well, what is it called?
Trump could shoot someone.
Okay, you're making me work today, man. Sorry.
They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
Yeah, it's a little different than how she framed it.
She said he could shoot somebody and get away with it. He said I could shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters. That is not the same.
Fact check false.
Fact
check false. Yes.
Fact check false.
This is like shooting fish in a barrel, you know. It's I do like it. Let me give us a little bit of information. And I think you may be the only person who understood what Joe Biden was saying here. I saw Twitter go crazy. I saw red Republican Twitter go, he's lost it. He has what? What's he talking about? Huh? Wow, he's crazy, this guy. Who clips coupons on Wall Street?
Do you believe that Senator Sanders and Senator Warren's wealth tax plans do that?
No, look, demonizing wealth people, what I talked about is how you get things done. And the way to get things done is take a look at the tax code right now. The idea, we have to start rewarding work, not just wealth. I would eliminate the capital gains tax. I would raise the capital gains tax to the highest.
Okay, it didn't help that he flubbed that one. That didn't make anything good.
I would raise the capital gains tax to the highest rate of 39.5%. I would double it because guess what? Why in God's name should someone who's clipping coupons in the stock market pay a lower tax rate than someone who in fact is, like I said, a school teacher and a firefighter? It's ridiculous, and they pay a lower tax.
So there were all these RNC, GOP Twitter accounts going, he's lost it. Who thinks people on Wall Street are clipping coupons?
Yes, and they're referring to clipping coupons, old-fashioned way of clipping them off the bonds. You would buy a bond, have a bunch of coupons on it, and you clip the coupons off.
Yes, exactly. This is what people don't understand. And I asked a lot of people, no one understood this. And I was quite frankly shocked that there are still people who clip coupons, take them to the issuing bank and get their interest check. There's people who actually cut them off and now, of course, they only pay capital gains tax, which was his point. But that, and I'm going to use the word for the second time, anachronism. Joe Biden is an anachronism. He cannot communicate in terms that anyone except two old fogey white dudes, you and me's, understand. Maybe Horowitz.
Horowitz
would know.
Well, anybody in the business would know it.
Nobody on Twitter, none of the talking heads, they all laughed at him. And of course he's laughable because he makes gaffe after gaffe. But this was just, instead of saying, you got a hedge fund manager or, he conjures up the image of old people clipping coupons out of the Saturday Flyer to go buy milk. What a moron. I'm sorry. It's cruel they keep putting this man on the stage. It's cruel.
Well, yeah, there was a fuss over this, but he was actually right except I think he's probably more along the lines of he'd like to, because he's obviously one of those guys that got a bunch of coupon bonds where he doesn't want to pay any taxes on it.
I don't want to pay taxes over my clips.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
All right, well, we got other. I got a second half of Kamala after she made that insane comment. She's still slamming Trump. Is another 12 seconds of her.
And he has consistently, since he won, been selling out the American people. He's been selling out working people. He's been selling out our values. He's been selling out national security. And on this issue with Ukraine, he has been selling out our democracy.
Okay, this is a question I have to ask you.
Okay.
By just mentioning Joe Biden to the Ukrainian comedian president, prime minister, or president, I think.
President.
How is that selling out our democracy?
Oh, well,
he says he's selling out everything, but I don't know specifically how is he selling out anyway?
By the same token, you can't explain why he's endangered our national security. It's the same bull crap. That's exactly what the television is telling me. He's endangered our politicians. Nancy, Chuck, Steny, they're all saying it. He endangered our national security. If you can explain that, then maybe we can understand the sold out part. No.
They should be more explanatory. I'd like an explanation, please.
Yes.
What do you mean specifically when you say these things?
I thought Beto ended his run during this debate.
He ended his run way before this debate.
This was about the gun buyback scheme that he's touting. And the gun buyback scheme is one thing, but he took it one step further, which I think just ended him right there.
Just to follow up, your expectations aside, your website says you will find people who don't give up their weapons. That doesn't take those weapons off the street. So to be clear, exactly how are you going to take away weapons from people who do not want to give them up and you don't know where they are?
If someone does not turn in an AR-15 or an AK-47, one of these weapons of war, or brings it out in public and brandishes it in an attempt to intimidate, as we saw when we were at Kent State recently, then that weapon will be taken from them. If they persist, there will be other consequences from law enforcement. But the expectation is that Americans will follow the law. I believe in this country. I believe in my fellow Americans. I believe that they will do the right thing.
Thank you.
We will take your guns, or there will be consequences for you. Yeah. Good luck, Beto. Good luck. I'm amazed they let him back into Texas talking like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were so bored you walked away.
Yeah, Beto, I can't really sit too close to the screen and get anxious. I want to bust up the place.
Can't sit so close to Beto.
Beto. I got no Beto clips.
That was my one and only.
Well, it's more than enough. I will say that. Oh, by the way, there was some sort of macho thing going on with Buttigieg in Tulsi.
Yeah, that was cool.
She was an officer, and he was like I think he's like a ground troop or something. But he was just irked about her.
He drove a Humvee, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, he's in harm's way. But here he slams. Here's a little short clip of him slamming her.
Well, respectfully, Congresswoman, I think that is dead wrong. The slaughter going on in Syria is not a consequence of American presence. It's a consequence of a withdrawal and a betrayal by this president of American allies and American values.
Yeah, they're both wrong. They both are full of it.
Both
They're
wrong.
both wrong. They're both wrong.
True.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Just get out. Yeah, but people should go back and listen to the last show where you did a takedown of this whole Syrian boots on the ground thing.
Yeah.
That is could be a whole show in most instances.
Just remember, no boots on the ground. That was the promise. These are not combat troops. They are not fighting. In fact, they were not allowed to fight. Assist and advise. Training only. Or maybe that wasn't true. Who knows?
Now, the biggest stink, which you may not have picked up on, but I picked up on it because of some following I do on Twitter. And it's a huge, huge stink, is when Biden went after Warren.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sure that was smelly.
And this really brought the feminazis out. And I'm sorry. If I ever say that word again, you can honk the horn.
That's really, maybe I should do the show with Rush Limbaugh. Why don't we do that?
Well, we'd make more money. That guy knows how to make money.
Any guy that goes to commercial break and says, time for another insanely profitable commercial break, that guy's doing okay.
Yeah, he does that. But they really came out of the woodwork on this one. And I do have the clip. This isn't the whole thing, but this is 49 seconds of the patronizing part that I think got everyone all irked when she's talking about the great job she did on the Consumer Protection Act.
Right.
And this thing, which is, this is going to stop robocall. It doesn't do anything, by the way, from what I could tell. But according to her, it saved the consumers $12, $50, $100 billion.
She, as a part of this, she helped oversee TARP, the banker bailout. She was overseeing that.
Yeah.
People forget. Yeah, good. I think that's what Joe Biden said.
We want to get something.
He was wait. He was kind of, he got annoyed as she was going on and on and on. And so he kind of jumps in at some point, and then they do a little back and forth. And it was the way it was done. And he also laughs at her. He's laughing at the woman, which makes, of course, this is bad. If you ever laugh at a woman, this brings out all the horrible.
No, you can't be doing that. Bad.
And so this is really a major gaffe, I guess. Here it is.
We want to get something done in America. We have to get out there and fight for the things that touch people's lives.
I agreed with. Let me. She referenced me. Okay. I agreed with the great job she did, and I went on the floor and got you votes. I got votes for that bill. I convinced people to vote for it. So let's get those things straight, too.
Senator Warren, do you want to respond?
I am deeply grateful to President Obama, who fought so hard to make sure that agency was passed into law. And I am deeply grateful to every single person who fought for it and who helped pass it into law. But understand.
You did a hell of a job in your job.
Thank you.
Now, I wonder how many people really picked up on him being cynical.
I think when he says you did a hell of a job, when he said he didn't quite get it out right, but he was saying you did a great job doing your job.
Right.
That's what got everybody upset.
I didn't even hear it that way, because when I think of the Consumer Protection Bureau, enabled by the act, which Elizabeth Warren oversaw and then was kicked out of, if you recall, she was kicked out of it by Obama because she was no good. She did a horrible job. We still have robocalls. I still get all kinds of borderline fraudulent offers in the mail.
I got 2 calls from Apple support the other day again.
From India?
From my iCloud account, which has been compromised.
Oh, what's your password? Quick.
I don't even have an iCloud account, but okay.
No, of course not.
Yeah, my password is FUC.
That's a funny one. I got to remember to use that.
Yeah.
I thought now, first, I thought we can wrap this up maybe. In general, I felt that Bernie Sanders what a comeback. A guy who comes back from a heart attack is I think he fixed his teeth too. while he was in there, like, you're out anyway. Let's fix these teeth. And so he was all smiles. He was funny. He was very clear. Now he's clear in not having any solutions, but he just consistently hammers with people are sick and tired of it. They're sick and tired of the cost of health insurance, sick and tired of the cost of prescriptions. They're sick and tired of the cost.
His message is simple.
It's very simple.
And it's appealing to a lot of people because there's not a lot of bull crap.
And then he had the joke of the night.
I want to start with you. We're moving on, Senator. I'm sorry.
I'm feeling great, but I would like to respond to that.
I want to start by saying...
And Senator Sanders is in favor of medical marijuana. I want to make sure that's clear as well.
Thank you.
Senator Sanders, this debate does
tonight.
mark your...
Did you catch that where he says, I'm not on it tonight?
Oh, I know. I thought he said not all the time.
No, he says, I'm not on it tonight. He has humor.
That is cute, yeah.
Everything's great
He's
about
quick. He's quick.
Yeah,
That's quick.
Very quick.
There was not a beat missed on that comeback.
And Bernie had lots of funny moments. The problem with Bernie is he's not a Democrat. They'll never let him become the nominee ever in a million years. Like, I don't even know why he's doing it, other than he really has conviction and truly believes in it, which I appreciate that. I really do. Elizabeth Warren, it falls in the drip category. Get out of here. And, seeing what we saw and basing this on 3 years of prediction, the obvious question is this the right moment? Is this the time?
Hey, clip, clop, clippity, cloppity, we are on our way.
Well, it could have happened yesterday. It didn't, so we're still holding our breath. Or not.
It seems...
Before we leave the debate, so I did want to play I thought it was just a good Bernie. This is Bernie's whole bit kind of wrapped into one. I believe this is the right one. Bernie on billionaires. I think this is it. Yeah, this is actually pretty funny because he goes off on everything wrong with the country and everything wrong with billionaires. There shouldn't be any. And he gets that idiot Tom Steyer to come up next. I don't have that. To agree that there should be no billionaires.
I hate myself. I hate the success.
Billionaires.
I don't like being a billionaire. Everybody, have a grand on me.
When you introduced your wealth tax, which would tax the assets of the wealthiest Americans, you said, quoting you, Senator, billionaires should not exist. Is the goal of your plan to tax billionaires out of existence?
When you have 500,000 Americans sleeping out on the street today, when you have 87 million people uninsured or underinsured, when you got hundreds of thousands of kids who cannot afford to go to college and millions struggling with the oppressive burden of student debt, and then you also have 3 people owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society, that is a moral and economic outrage. And the truth is, we cannot afford to continue this level of income and wealth inequality, and we cannot afford a billionaire class whose greed and corruption has been at war with the working families of this country for 45 years. So if you're asking me, do I think we should demand that the wealthy start paying, the wealthiest, top 0.1%, start paying their fair share of taxes so we can create a nation and a government that works for all of us? Yes, that's exactly what I believe.
Again, he hits all the right buttons, but then it's like, well, we'll just fix it with taxes on them. And no one believes that. No one believes it. Everyone knows
it can't be done.
No. Yeah.
Now, people should read my essay on wealth tax and what it really should be like and how it works and why it would work well. It doesn't involve soaking the top. They do get dinged a lot more than they do
it's
today.
It's just a new way of taxation.
Yeah.
A fairer way
of taxation that eliminates, in my opinion, the real problem is income. Income should not be taxed because people cannot accumulate wealth if you just keep attacking their income. You should only attack their wealth after they accumulate it. And most people don't have a lot of wealth, and they'd be paying very little taxes, if any. They'd definitely be paying less than they're paying now, except the super hyper wealthy that have a potload of money. They'd be paying more, but it's not that much. 1.8%, I think, is the number I came up with.
Well, while we're dicking around in this morass of sludge, there's actual things going on. Europe is kind of on fire. We've got the yellow vests rioting in Toulouse. We've got...
where's the coverage of that?
We've got... Catalan is exploding, violence everywhere because they're locking people up for a decade or more. The Netherlands...
Where's the coverage of that?
The Netherlands, the Farmer Defense Force went to The Hague to protest with their tractors. And think about it, pitchforks and tractors. The politicians were so afraid they didn't call the police. They didn't call the SWAT team. No, they put the military on the streets. The government is so afraid of the farmers, they put the military there to defend them. Where's the coverage? You'd think that would be important because it could happen anywhere. And there's shit going on. Ah, yes, the revolution will not be televised. I should have known better. And with that,
they don't want to televise it for that reason. These large corporations that own the media, they don't want to get this kind of a mess. They don't want to give anybody any ideas.
And those two no agenda douchebags should be quiet too.
Yeah, well, luckily,
and they would have silenced us many moons ago had we not chosen for a value for value method. And with that, I would like to thank you for your courage in this. The man who put the C in coupon clipping in the morning to you, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning to all the, what is it, feet on the ground, foot in the air, feet in the air, subs in the water. Oh, I'm sorry, subs in the water.
Boots on the ground.
Subs in the water. And all the dames and nights out.
In the morning to our trolls hanging out at noagendastream.com. It is where the trolls congregate on Thursdays and Sundays and many other days throughout the week. We got tons of live shows there. It's a 24/7 operation. You can log into the chat room. You can troll along. And you can interact with the hosts as they talk, just like we're doing here. So, noagendastream.com.
You can interact with one host.
Yes, true.
Although I do give them
crap. Yeah. And in the morning to John Fletcher. Fletcher brought us the artwork for episode 1181. The title of that was Solutioning. And it was hard to choose art. I don't think there was the selection was not broad.
There was a lot to choose from, but you started off with saying there's nothing.
And you almost nailed my voice. Could you try it again?
I can do it. I can actually do your voice.
Yeah, okay.
There's nothing.
Exactly. That's precisely the way I do it. Fletcher gave us
my mom's voice and my wife's voice.
I know. It's all the women in your life. This was the Climate Repair Shop. I don't remember how it was relevant to the show, but we thought it was a fun piece of art.
There was a moment in the show where somebody discussed
repairing the climate.
Something it was really close to having a climate repair shop was mentioned in some odd way.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, it worked for us, and we're very appreciative. And also to everybody who gave it a shot, for sure. I mean, we're not. Every piece of art is appreciated. Every piece of art has its place. All art is just in the eye of the beholder. We happen to be two of them. And that's why people can go to noagendaartgenerator.com, look at all the pieces of art, remix them, do other things with them, use them, put them on things. Go to noagendashop.com where the artists get paid for their artwork that's put onto mugs, T-shirts, hats, you name it. But above all, it is a great way to notify, as a little nudge, to people who are subscribed to the show or maybe just cruising around. Hey, wait a minute, that looks different. That's a different, you get used to patterns. And if the patterns change slightly, people notice. And apparently the podcast app in iOS 13 with the latest beta is now working. And so the album art changes once again. Yes, we're very happy about that because we adhere to the spec and the standard and we expect the same from our partners.
Okay. Well, we do have a few people to thank, including one whopper at the top. And it's also a moment. Jacob Hopper came in with 2003.33.
Oh my goodness!
As a double Insta-night and dame.
Is he bi?
So, it's for his wife.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
And he says, Goedenavond.
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 Goedenavond, Adam and Sean.
Adam and John, forgive me, Potfather, for I have sinned and have been a douchebag for 2 years.
Uh-oh.
I was hit in the mouth by a Marine that was stationed near me in Havelock, North Carolina a while back, and I would like to call him out as a douchebag.
Oh, here we go. Oh. What happened to my bag?
His name's Jonathan Bino.
No, I know, but I the douchebag, it's on the floor here. Hold on. Okay, I got it. Douchebag. Phew, that's better.
So Jonathan gets that. He needs a de-douching for him and his keeper.
You've been de-douched.
Corey Stringer, who we'd like this donation to be a double night dame combo for the two of us. Yes, the dame drive guilted me in. This is interesting.
The dame drive, all right, it worked.
The dame drive worked. Guilted me into the extra donation. I have hit. What is this? I've hit numerous people in the mouth and keep on trying to spread the message to shrink as many amygdalas as humanity possibly as humanly possible. Dutch pronunciation.
Oh, he's saying. So he wants it. I've hit numerous people in the mouth and tried to spread the message to shrink as many amygdalas as human possible.
Now, I want you to read the rest of this kind of with a little bit of that accent, even though he's not Dutch.
Why? Why would I insult him?
Okay. Well, the reason is because this is notes too long.
I'm happy to read it. I'm happy to read it. We were happy to see our brothers and one sister at a meetup in Utrecht a couple of weeks ago. Shout out to Dame Jacobina for her bravery and Sir Hendrik for setting it all up. And we thoroughly enjoyed all the conversations with no triggering of any sort. And you will love this, Adam. I'm an active duty Coast Guard Lieutenant Commander stationed in the landlocked Limburg region of the Netherlands. Yeah, that's an interesting place for a naval guy.
Coast Guard. Hold on a second. There's no explanation for this, but why is it? He's U.S. Coast Guard.
U.S. Coast Guard. Yes.
What is he doing there?
He's on reserve for the Georgia. Don't you remember we sent the Coast Guard to Georgia when Russia was where they were fighting there? The Coast Guard's everywhere. It's a good question though. Even though being landlocked for just over 3 years, I managed to fulfill my traditional life-saving service duties and rescue 3 severely drunk Belgians who had sunk their rented canoe in the middle of a lake near Oost-Maarland. My normal job is a port security liaison where I travel frequently to the Middle East, Africa, even some non-EU countries way up north and scattered about. Hopefully I can catch up with you next time you're in the Netherlands for sharing some good stories, but they may not be Captain Pechenik quality. Corey and I love you and John C. and always look forward to listening, especially John's pronunciation of anything Dutch along with your spectacular Dutch accent. I would like to be named Sir Jacob, Guardian of the Limburg Coast, and Corey would like to be named Dame Corey, Lady of Ten Boom. I would like blote billetjes in het gras, stampot, and flaming butthose at the round table. Corey would like vitamin E vapes and vodka at the round table. We love you guys very much. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for giving us some sanity while in the EU. Couples that no agenda together, stay together.
You've got karma.
And that's the end of our executive producer list.
It was short, but it was a good one.
And our associate executive producer list isn't too long either. We only have 2. One is Dylan Tice in Valley, Nebraska, $201. He says, my older brother Troy hit me in the mouth about a year ago. I've been freeloading off your show ever since. So I feel a de-douching is in order.
You've been de-douched.
And this is the second time Troy Tice has been called out as a douchebag. Douchebag. Sir Oz of the Windy Plains, this is my first donation, and I'd like a de-douching. Why do you? Oh, I'm sorry. This is the next one.
Hold on, wait.
You don't rarely get two of these reds together.
Why are you talking through the de-douching?
I'm talking through the de-douching.
De-douching.
Just because it's the wrong de-douching.
You did it again. Be quiet. Is it a de-douching or not? He says, I'd like a de-douching.
Yeah, but it's for the next guy.
Well, that's what we just did this. We just did Dylan Teese.
Yeah.
You're not at Oz of the Windy Plains?
I haven't mentioned Oz of the Windy Plains.
Okay. Why? I have no problem with the spreadsheet. I can see it.
I can't. But when I'm over, because I move it over cell to cell, so I have this huge red area. So it all looks like one.
Well, why don't you have the whole spreadsheet? I mean, you're scrolling in this thing?
I scroll horizontally.
Yeah, that's not a good way to do it. Just zoom out. I'm at 80%.
Yeah, okay. I do it my way. You do it your ways.
Well, okay. Gee, working great.
Well, once in a while when you have the situation and you can understand it, there's just a giant block of text. It looks like the same text. Anyway, next on the list, did Dylan get anything like maybe a karma?
Well, I can give him a karma, sure.
You've got karma.
Our last and second associate executive producer is Oz of the Windy Plains in Clovis, in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. And he get the same thing. He says this is his first donation. He needs the de-douching, which we've given him already.
Well, no, he has not gotten it because both times
because I
talked
interrupted
over. You just completely obliterated the de-douche.
De-douching interruptus.
Okay, here we go.
You've been de-douched.
He was hit in the mouth by Timothy N., but he needs to be called out as a douchebag. Douchebag. So now he needs a request of the whole load, which I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I do.
And China ass ho.
That is, we're going to die, and this clip is going to be played at our funerals. This is like the end of me. That's true, and China is asso. And does he want some karma with that?
No, not that's true. The whole load.
No, I know. I got it. I'm just saying these are the things that will haunt us.
He said nothing about karma, but I would give him some.
I'm going to give you the whole load today.
Chinese asshole.
You've got karma.
My goodness.
Hey, so while on the topic of that Biden clip, I do have an ISO from the debates. This is Biden.
Yeah, I'm just looking for it here for a second.
That's right. It's a Biden ISO.
Under
B.
It's funny. No, it's at the top of the list, of course. Here we go.
This is shameful.
Hold on. Back.
This is shameful. This is shameful.
I mean, I would have wanted to do my ISO for the end of show, which is...
We have a deal.
It's very hard to understand that one.
We have a deal. This
is shameful.
I think we'll use that. That's a good one. Unless something else pops up during the show.
Well,
keep that.
I don't know.
All right. Well, that was a very short list, but wow.
Very short list.
It's so nice that we have our Dame Drive has started to work, and there's attention being... I mean, we're not just a bunch of douchebags. We want the women on the show, and the Dame Drive is finally catching on, and we need more dames at the round table, and we'll be bringing two of them on. Actually, three people, I think, are coming onto the list for the round table today. That will be coming up in our second segment. For now, though, really like to thank it is, in fact, two executive producers in one donation and two associate executive producers for their courage in supporting episode 1182 of the No Agenda Show. You can do that as well. It's simple. All you have to do is go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
And those credits are real. You should go out and let everybody know about it. Propagate it.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
All all of this, and you really can't call it anything else but propaganda surrounding the Ukraine impeachment push, the UIP, Ukraine impeachment push. It does eventually seep in, and in a world where we only read headlines. I mean, truly only read headlines. And actually would just love retweeting headlines based upon the headline. We really don't read. I'm thankful that we looked at the Ukraine transcript the minute it was released, and we could see that the truth of what, at least the only evidence we have, it's a transcript, so who knows, but it's supposed to be correct. So we know exactly what did or did not go on, and all you hear about and all that is being parroted across the spectrum into the, through the whole machine, not just the cable news and the M5M, but the social Sosh Nets. It's everywhere. Is, he's a traitor, has given up our national security, he thinks he's above the law, he can't be, we've got to get rid of him, he's the worst president ever, never seen a president so corrupt, this is a new one, the most corrupt president in history. I think Biden even said that during the debate. It does.
Yeah, that's a Bernie original that's been passed around.
It does seep into the psyche, and that's what I'm worried about. I'd like to play a clip from a podcast, and it's two cultural icons of the moment. Tip T.I. Harris, who, and you probably don't know. Have you heard of Chance the Rapper? Do you know Chance the Rapper stuff?
I know Chance the Rapper. I don't know Chance the Rapper. I know of
Chance the Rapper. And Cardi B. Cardi B. You know Cardi B, too. You've seen her.
Everybody knows Cardi B.
Everybody knows Cardi B. Now, their audience, their prime audience is young white girls. That is who buys hip-hop records. That is who loves these cultural icons. They are not on par with a Beyonce or an Oprah, but they're definitely people who are listened to. And this was a podcast on Podcast One, which is part of the Westwood One radio networks. And they were sitting together talking about the election and the president and how elections work. Now, it'll be hard for me not to laugh at some of the obvious vocabulary gaffes, and I make ton of them myself. But it kind of shows you as we listen.
A ton of them.
I'm sorry?
A ton of them.
What did I say?
Hey, I make ton of them.
I make ton good gaffes. I make a ton of them. I think you just didn't hear it through the Skype connection.
It's possible, but it's still fun.
But it also you will immediately recognize these vocabulary gaffes as just someone who's heard something and is just parroting what they have heard on the mainstream media. But I'm concerned about the influence they have on our young people. Of course, it's not only white, but man, that is their big audience. And this, I feel, is to a degree harmful, and I just want to bring it to everyone's attention that this is what your children are probably listening to.
I feel like Oprah could be president, but it's like if it was so hard for Hillary to become a president, even though
do you know why?
Even though her husband was already president.
But do you know why I feel like presidential?
She had the majority of the vote.
She did, but she didn't go with the Electoral College.
The Electoral College are gonna go with.
I mean, I'm sorry. I don't usually correct things like this, but it's the Electoral College. It's not the Electoral College, and. See, and now I'm playing it. It's not even funny anymore. I've been so sad about this podcast.
Yeah, but she didn't go with the Electoral College.
The Electoral College are gonna go with
Beyonce?
A woman.
Well, now listen what I'm trying to say though. This is the thing about presidential candidates. Over the course of our lifetime, when we hear about a presidential candidate, we have very little to no experience or no knowledge of them or their platform until somebody say, hey, this person's running for president, right? The first time we hear their name is this person somewhere is running for president. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you have a Oprah, if you have a Beyonce, if you have, even with Trump,
Donald Trump.
Like we knew these people before. We knew them. We had more knowledge of them than we did, let's just say, of Hillary.
But a lot of people.
Only thing we knew about Hillary is, well, she stayed with Bill.
A lot of people, a lot of Americans, they vote with feelings, and a lot of these people feel religion. They vote due to religion, and they vote to race, and
fear.
And fear.
Yeah.
They fear that a black man or a black woman will take over this country.
Wait a minute. Didn't we all vote a black man into the presidency?
Apparently they either didn't know that, they may not have known that.
It gets worse. It gets worse, and this is why I'm playing this. This is one of the most racist discussions I've heard in a while. Of course, black people can't be racist, but it's racist.
To race. And
fear.
And fear.
Yeah.
They fear that a black man or a black woman will take over this country.
But what is to be honest with you, hip hop has already taken over the country.
How's it working out so far then?
And the world for that.
But they subscribe.
They have, but there's a lot of people. There's a lot of country bumpkin ass men that they do be voting.
There we go. A lot of country ass bumpkin men, which is code for white, who will be voting, and we only vote the bumpkins in Texas and stuff. We only vote on feelings and race,
and they don't listen to hip hop. For example,
they listen to hip hop.
No, let me tell you something.
They listen to hip hop, but they don't want no black person telling them what to do.
Look. So wait, I was looking at.
What about following the people with the best ideas?
Some people don't give a fuck about the best ideas. They really vote with feelings. Because it's like, come on now. Look at Donald Trump, right? Every single time, he always talk about how he wanted to take away Medicares and shit like that. And it's like...
John... That damn Trump talking about taking away the Medicares. He's never said that.
Ever.
But everyone else has said that he wants to take away the Medicares.
Fuck about the best ideas. They really vote with feelings. Because it's like, come on now. Look at Donald Trump, right? Every single time, he always talk about how he wanted to take away Medicares and shit like that. And it's like, a poor white man don't give a fuck. A poor white man that's getting Medicare is not even caring that he's saying that. He just cares that he hates Mexicans and he want to get rid of them.
That's it. That's right. Yes. No one cares about their Medicares. We just want to make sure that the president hates Mexicans and gets rid of them. That's what country bumpkins do. Yeah.
Medicare is not even caring that he's saying that. He just cares that he hates Mexicans and he want to get rid of them. Right. I don't care if Donald Trump take away the things that I need. I just hate Mexicans and I want them gone. Right. So I'm going to keep on voting for them. A lot of people vote with feelings in America, and a lot of their feelings is racism and religion.
Yeah, well, the pride comes before the fall. If you can feed into a person's fears and insecurities, you could joystick them and direct their path to do and go wherever the fuck you want them to. And that's exactly what's being done with the Republican Party.
And I would say that's exactly what's happened to the three of you. You have been sticked and moved and manipulated by the Democrat Party and by the mainstream media and the general political discourse of the M5M across all boundaries into being bigoted, racist dicks. And they have influence. This is not unimportant that this is happening.
Well, that was the most depressing clip that you've played ever.
I don't know. I think I had a dog dying clip that was more depressing.
I don't think so.
But holy mackerel.
Yeah, that's an eye-opener.
And this is, Cardi B is, she's top of her game right now in the entertainment world. Chance the Rapper is established. I mean, these are big names, and that's what they're feeding us?
Yeah, it's in their music, too. You can count on that.
Yeah.
At least that's what they claim when they said that if you don't listen to hip hop, you won't have a clue.
If you listen to hip hop, then it's even worse.
Must be.
With a lot
if they're writing it.
So sorry to bum you out, but my mouth was aghast.
Yeah, pretty bad. Well, talking about stuff that is, again, not being reported, which is one of the things we were discussing. Here's a couple of items I have that, again, is because of the Giuliani thing and Trump. We don't hear about this. I can't find anything about this in the mainstream. I got it on Democracy Now! Had it, of course. Mexican news.
Okay.
In Mexico, the Senate is slated to vote on legislation to legalize marijuana in the coming days. Nice. The bill's passage would mark a major shift away from the U.S.-backed drug war in Mexico, which has killed tens of thousands of people since it began in 2006. This is Mexican Senator Ricardo Monreal, a member of the Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's Morena party.
La eliminación prohibicionista en el país es bueno.
Eliminating prohibition in the country is good. I think the possibility of regulating consumption, the cultivation, commercialization is a good thing. Also, heeding towards industrial use is also good. I think that Mexico is prepared to take on such a position, on such trajectory. There are voices like that of the president, who has said there should be a national consultation, which is under consideration, which is pending, and which is under discussion.
Okay, so it's not legal yet, or is it legal? I'm a little confused.
No. It's going to be, though. It's pretty apparent that they're pushing for this, and maybe they're doing it to get more money out of us to stop them, but I'm not sure.
No, I can't wait for Fox News and Tucker Carlson to...
Oh, yeah, Tucker will be out there bitching about this.
Bitch about it, yes.
Huh. It was funny to see they showed a movie of a protest and everybody's smoking. It was pretty amusing. Yeah. Here's another story that no one's talking about, and this one's about entails Canada and another one of these Indian uprisings. This is Canada Mohawk issues.
In Canada, a member of the Mohawk community in Ganassadage in southwestern Quebec has gone on a hunger strike amidst an escalating land struggle between the First Nations tribe and real estate developers. The residents are asking Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to implement a short-term moratorium on all development in their territory. Trudeau has promised reconciliation with Canada's First Nations. He's facing the possibility of being unseated in Canada's federal elections next week. This is Ellen Gabriel.
Because the government has been ignoring us for many generations, but in particular with this government that promised that we would be the most important relationship in Canada, and it wasn't. So a hunger strike to provide some light to this complex issue that the people in Ganassadage, the Kanien'kehá:ka Mohawk people have been fighting for many, many generations.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Trudeau is supposed to be the big champion of this, and he just bails on it. This guy's done.
President Obama on Twitter, quote, "I was proud to work with Justin Trudeau as president. He's a hardworking, effective leader who takes on big issues like climate change. The world needs his progressive leadership now, and I hope our neighbors to the north support him." He just came out and endorsed blackface-wearing Justin Trudeau.
Wow.
And still has said zero about Joe Biden.
No, he hates Biden, apparently.
No kidding. That's 2 Democracy Now! Clips in a row, and I'm kicking myself because neither of us caught the obvious gaffe on the previous episode, 1181.
I did catch it.
Well, we didn't mention it. We didn't talk about it. Here's the clip.
You steamrolled me.
Well, here's the clip.
This is the black trans woman. This is from Democracy Now!
Democratic presidential candidates attended a CNN-hosted town hall Thursday night. South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg was interrupted by activists holding a banner and chanting "Trans Lives Matter."
Yeah, Poot Buttigieg.
I thought it was more poop. I don't know. You want to call it poop?
It's poop? Play
poop?
It again.
I think I have the ISO. I have an ISO. Here we go.
Poop Buttigieg.
I think it's poop. Listen again.
Say it again.
Poop Buttigieg.
One more time.
Poop. Try it again.
Be quiet.
Poop Buttigieg.
Sounds like poop.
Poop Buttigieg.
It does sound like poop.
Poop Buttigieg.
Tastes like poop.
Oh, it's poop. You're right.
It's poop.
Poop Buttigieg.
Now, that's not our end of show ISO?
Poop Buttigieg.
No, I guess not.
It does. It's okay. I think it's a good show title. Buttigieg is a great show title.
What happened? We did talk about this, and I specifically said one of our transgender listeners would weigh in, and of course, Allie Jade, the official tranny of the No Agenda Show, that's how she calls herself. She responded about transgender women of color being murdered because there's really no reporting on what's happening, and I think we asked a very simple question: what's happening? All we hear is reporting that it's happening, but what? Why? What is going on?
Yeah, well, the reporting is supposed to be what, why, when, who, what, why.
Yes.
When, where, and where is any of this? We don't get anything.
Well, this is coming from a trans woman, and she would know. Adam and John, transgender people tend to get pulled towards prostitution and other sex work. Black trans people tend to go more in that direction and tend to be in rougher areas. Then on top of that, when in relationships, the people that trans people end up with or around can be bad news sometimes, making a lot of deaths and danger being domestic gone bad or community violence, i.e. someone regretting sex with a trans person or some other form of regret or anger. The cherry on the cake is the black community itself. The DL, what is that? The DL blacks?
Down low,
I guess, yeah. The DL blacks don't care for gay people and don't like trans either, but kind of a joke is a large percentage of black guys love to expletive trans chicks. I run in the online and used to in person circles where there is always a large amount of black guys chasing trans girls, but would never admit it or want to be confronted about it, which can lead to the higher deaths because of conflicts. I am a lower middle class, just getting by American white trans. I live in a safe area. I have a long time career and I pass as a woman. I don't get into social justice warrior trans advocates' life as I see that as being dangerous. Also, I've said to you guys before, transgender is not a gender. It's a medical term indicating you're transitioning to the opposite gender. With trans people being fully out and open also can lead to these high murder rates. Hell, of course, it isn't even counting the suicides. Note for John, I do not agree with anyone under 18 being transitioned. People underestimate the power of hormones and how they affect the mind and the body. After puberty, when the proper transition timeline should be visited. And she posted a link there. So there you go. And now we understand why it's never discussed.
This is a reasonable person who listens to the show.
Yeah. Yes. Is not triggered, not pissed off, not all angry, and gave us an honest answer. It's her opinion. I've heard this, but you will never hear this from people who are yelling and are activists. It appears there may be an issue in the black community and the trans community itself. But they make it seem like the patriarchy is killing black trans women.
White men.
That's very
cisgendered.
Yes. So thank you very much, Allie Jade.
What does cis stand for anyway? Cis, C-I-S. What does that mean?
Well, it's what you are. You and I are cis.
But what does it mean? Where's that word come from?
We should know this.
And why do we use it? I don't use it.
Well, I use it all the time.
Why do the kids use it?
Why do the kids use it?
Of knowledge.
Okay, cisgender, definition of cis, it's cis for cisgender. This is from Merriam-Webster. Of relating to or being a person whose gender identity corresponds with the sex the person had or was identified as having at birth. So somehow the cis comes from corresponding, maybe?
No.
They should tell us what it is. You're right. I really don't understand.
I brought it up at the table, and somebody at the table knew, and I forgot. It's like a chemical term. It's like, you have this isopropyl and ethyl.
like molecular structure?
Yeah, it's like cis has something to do with it. Something I don't even remember.
Yeah, here we go. Cis, adjective. Denoting or relating to a molecular structure in which two particle atoms or groups lie on the same side of a given plane in the molecule. In particular, denoting an isomer in which substituents at opposite ends of a carbon-carbon double bond are on the same side of the bond. Jeez, can I be called something else? How about just, I'd rather you call me douchebag than
carbon.
That. I don't want to be carbon bond. This is no good. By the way, big mea culpa from my side. Oh my goodness, I was blown away by this and I'm very upset with myself. As it pertains to our conversation about Jennifer Aniston, whether she is from California or Austin, and I said there's only one actress from Austin, that's Sandy Bullock, and she is our hometown girl, and I was slapped in the face by the truth. A big...
Fact check false.
I quote to you from Arlington Magazine, not in Texas, in Arlington, District of Columbia. Long before actress Sandra Bullock won an Oscar for her performance in The Blind Side, she was stirring things up at Washington Lee High School as president of its pep club. Bullock's family landed in Arlington when her father took a job at the Pentagon. Her parents bought a white brick house on 26th Street in Woodmont, where her mother, an opera singer, reportedly entertained party guests by belly dancing. Although the actress has said in interviews she was teased in junior high, Bullock blossomed at Washington Lee as a varsity cheerleader and drama student. The future star was even voted class clown and funniest by her 1982 graduating class. She is zero Texan. She's just here for the taxes. Lack of taxes, which is smart, but oh my, she's not part of us. She's a spook. Born in the same hospital I was born in, Arlington Hospital, 3 months before me. Spook.
Taxes.
Taxes, the taxes. And I think this is an important clip we should play and discuss briefly as we kind of tore apart the whole China NBA thing on the last show, the TPP, how Obama was all in with Nike. Where was this going to lead? What was going to happen? Was King James going to say anything? Would LeBron come out and make a statement? And LeBron James came out, made a statement, possibly the shittiest statement he could have made ever. And here it is.
We all talk about this freedom of speech. Yes, we all do have freedom of speech. But at times there are ramifications for the negative that can happen when you're not thinking about others and you're only thinking about yourself. So I don't believe, I don't want to get into a word or sentence feud with Daryl Morey, but I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand, and he spoke. And so many people could have been harmed, not only financially, but physically, emotionally, spiritually. So just be careful what we tweet and we say and what we do, even though, yes, we do have freedom of speech, but there can be a lot of negative that comes with that too.
Now, I watched ESPN, I watched Fox Sports 1, I watched all the newscasts. Nowhere did I hear anyone deconstruct King James's statement to, hold on a second. First of all, he said Morey, the manager, was uneducated.
No, he was the owner of the Houston Rockets.
Uneducated, but he could have hurt people first on the list financially. Not about, hurt their feelings or anything. No, financially. Then it was actual bodily harm, mental, spiritual
anguish. Yeah,
but financial at the top of the list. I'm telling you, LeBron James is auditioning to be an owner because he's got what it takes, ladies and gentlemen. Douchebag who cares only about money and shut up about anything else. He'll be an owner soon. Watch.
And I don't get the, it's been a foregone conclusion. He's the richest guy in sports. But I'm surprised he said anything about the uneducated comment. All he said was, I have sympathy for the people of Hong Kong. He didn't even really take
uneducated. No, he was uneducated because he was you got to listen to what LeBron is saying, because LeBron is very educated.
I'm going to tell you what. Okay, he's saying he's uneducated, but not as an idiot for saying anything about Hong Kong or about knowing anything about it. He's uneducated by the fact that he doesn't realize that just by saying anything whatsoever is going to cost me money.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. It's despicable.
It is pretty bad.
I mean, how can you still watch the game? knowing that this is how they think. They don't give a shit about you. John, you're the big fan of the Warriors. Oh, Steph Curry. Oh, they don't care. They don't care about you. They do not care.
I'm in a total agreement with this thinking. And I was watching the Twitters go on, and Chuck D is like totally involved defending LeBron.
Really? Another guy. Get out of here, Chuck D. That's just so insulting.
Yeah. It's money grubbing.
Ah, shoot. I'm sorry. Damn it. I missed this on the trans segment. Can I just take it back to the trans segment, even though I closed it out? Okay. Here's the British Chief of Police. As you know, in the United Kingdom, misgendering someone is illegal.
Today is International Pronouns Day, which is a day particularly important to people who identify as transgender or gender non-conforming. Being misgendered can have a huge impact on somebody and their personal well-being. It also can be used as a form of abuse for somebody, and that just isn't right. Today is about raising awareness, getting people to have conversations, and understanding why it is so important to understand the pronouns that somebody wishes to be used for them. Have a good day.
Oh, have a good day. There you go. That's the police.
You know, when I was a kid during the 60s, you'd have long hair, because everybody did.
Yeah.
Late 60s, 70s in particular. And once in a while, you used to be gas station attendants, and you'd roll down your window, someone say, "What can I do for you, ma'am?" You'd get that every so often because of your hair.
Sure.
Well, so I should be all upset about this, and I should sue them and call the cops? Because that was misgendered.
Yeah. That's interesting because when I was a kid, I had long hair. This was 72. And, we had the Schwinn chopper bike, banana saddle. Then all of a sudden I moved to Holland and no one had my hair. And I got pestered a lot. And a lot of people said, "How about your daughter? What's your daughter doing?" I was misgendered throughout my entire youth. And I want some
compensation.
Reparations.
I
want reparations for being misgendered. And I'm sure it affected me. I remember it always sucked. I'm like,
it affected you, yeah.
I do. I
got more nervous tics.
Yeah, that's when it started, around 7. That's exactly right.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. It's not nervous tics. It's Tourette's syndrome. I'm a victim.
I think all nervous tics are Tourette's.
Oh, no, that's, I've talked about this with Pachanik. I've talked about it with Pachanik. And he said.
What does he know about it?
He's a psychologist and a psychiatrist and a something other-ist. He studied it.
He was a captain.
He said, no. Actually, his explanation was worse. He doesn't believe. He said, "You don't have Tourette's." I said, "What do you mean? Look, I'm ticking all over the place. That's not Tourette's." I said, "I could work with you and find it. It's just some severe trauma from your youth." I'm like, "I'd rather have Tourette's. I don't want to know. I don't fuck with my head. I don't want to know what the severe trauma was, Steve. Thanks." So it could be that.
So he's one of those guys.
Yeah, it could be the misgendering.
It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a girl.
And now that I've gotten that out, maybe
I don't think
maybe the tics will stop. Oh my God, it could actually work. Nope, it didn't. I just ticked.
OTG going OTG.
Time for another OTG report. That's right.
OTG going OTG. I'm an OTG kind of guy.
Yeah. That's it. Ah, yes, as if you needed them, we love to give you reasons to consider going off the grid, or, as Andrew Yang did not say, break up with big tech. Break up with them. You really don't need them. Here's what's happening. 4 stories. The first one, my favorite ad blocker, which many people use, uBlock Origin. You may even use that. Do you use
what is it?
uBlock Origin?
I don't use that.
It's very famous. Lots of people use it. Google is now rejecting that. It may no longer be installed from the Chrome Web Store. If actually, it may not be able to be installed at all.
Why? Because it works?
Yes. You didn't let me do the punchline. Yes, because it works.
I'm sorry. You got punchline mania.
That's exactly it. It's because it works. Let me see. There was an interview in the, let me see, is it the Daily? No, not the Mail. There was an interview with a Google muckety muck. I'm trying to find his name now. I'm sorry. I thought I was better prepared than that. With the UK publication. And he was asked a question. It says Google's devices chief. Okay, chief of devices over at Google. Thanks, BBC. Great reporting. I'm sure that's his title. Hi, I'm chief devices. After being challenged as to whether homeowners should tell guests that smart devices such as the Google Nest speaker or Amazon Echo display are in use before they enter the building, he concludes the answer is indeed yes. He says, gosh, I haven't thought about that way and quite that way before. Rick Osterlich, that's his name. It's quite important for all these technologies to think about all users. We have to consider all stakeholders that might be in proximity. Well, he says, I think you probably should tell guests before they come into your house that you are being listened to by Google and Amazon. Hello? A moment of clarity. You know, he'll be ex-chief of devices if he keeps that up. Very sad news about Apple's Safari browser.
Well, before you go on, so maybe we should have some countermeasures as pedestrians wandering into someone's house. There's a lot of people that have these devices.
Oh? Yes.
And when whatever house you walk into, know what the devices are and just randomly send them some commands.
Well, how do you do that?
Hello, Google. And then you just tell it to erase my phone.
Oh, no.
Hello, Google.
No,
reset the phone to factory standards.
No, that's not going to work. B, that is not going to embarrass your host. Here's what you do. Hey, Google, look up some butt porn. Now that will embarrass your host, and that will make them think twice about it.
Now, what would you do with Alexa?
Hey, Alexa. How much is butt porn this week in the Amazon? You could just say horrible things. You should. You should. On iOS, and this is very disturbing. I've always thought, and I have more disturbing news really about Apple. I've always kind of considered Apple to be reasonably okay with privacy for their customers. You know, think about what they do and they don't want, and not send. They make a big deal of it for sure.
They talk a big game. At least they try. I'm reading here from, I don't know what this article is. It's been discovered that Apple, which of course often positions itself as a champion in privacy of human rights, is sending some IP addresses from users of its Safari browser on iOS, that's your iPad and your iPhone, to Chinese conglomerate Tencent. And Apple admits it does send some user IP addresses, i.e. where you are connected, your address of connection, which can tell you a lot about a person if their IP address stays consistent. Apple admits it sends some user IP addresses to Tencent in the About Safari and Privacy section of its settings, and that's under the title Fraudulent Website Warning. Here's where it gets interesting. Before visiting a website, Safari may send information calculated from the website address to Google Safe Browsing and Tencent Safe Browsing to check if the website is fraudulent. This disqualifies Apple completely. Completely, especially sending it to Google and to the Chiners. I don't know. I find, and it's just, no one's really saying much about it. I guess everyone loves it, but I find that no one says anything about it because nobody nowadays
cares.
They don't know what's going on. They're just clueless. Oh, new phone. Let's unbox it.
Right. So there is a new OTG phone on the way to me. It is loaded with the follow-up to Copperhead OS, which is something with an M. I forget what it is. And I was reading through the documentation. One of our producers is sending it to me so I can test it out. Here's something I overlooked with the whole don't be tracked and don't be annoyed. Now, this operating system, is a complete hardened, no Google Android that is just Android. Nothing that has Google on it is in there. But it does something that I had not considered, that you cannot block. At least you cannot block it on any type of operating system except for this one. And that is that the apps communicate with each other all the time. And this is not disclosed. It's not really discussed. And so this operating system has network switches that you can determine by each individual app should you choose to use apps. But in general, it's a complete Google-free, hardened, lockdown. It changes your MAC address, so that's your physical network card address, randomly on every connection. Same for the cellular MAC address. So it does a lot of these things, and I'm going to be trying it out to see. I think it may be a very good replacement for my current hardened iPhone 5. And I'll be reporting on that. But I didn't even consider how much is going on under the hood, what these apps are talking to each other consistently and constantly. And so hopefully this will be something that you could load on your phone too. And it uses F-Droid for its application. So these are complete Google-free, all open source code available. I think they use K9 Mail as the mail client, and I've used that before. And that may be a good way to not be tracked. And, of course, because it's not an official operating system supported by a big company, nor are the apps, it'll be so shit to use you won't want to, which is the whole point. You don't want to use anything on your phone. Do it on your computer at home. That's fine. Don't let anybody track you. It's not healthy. And that's my OTG report for today.
That's good enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my phone's off. It's in the drawer.
Yeah, but when you turn it back on, it sends all that information over to Google and Tencent and who knows what else.
Well, I'll load this new thing on there. I'm good with it.
Yeah. You gonna flash your ROM?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
That's what you got. You got to flash the ROM to do it.
I love to flash the ROM. Woo!
Yes.
Here's I got to say, this firing of this Ukrainian ambassador, the woman. This thing has been getting on my nerves because there's information that's being lost in the shuffle here. And here's one of the clip I have. This is Brooks of Brooks and Shield. The two guys in this particular episode, which was last Friday. The two of them went on. I agree with him. Oh, I agree with him. I agree with you. I agree with you more. They're like Chip and Dale, these two.
Yeah.
So this is Brooks on Ukraine firing.
I mean, every day it's a blizzard of something. The Ivanovich thing today, it made me think, like, how many other people are involved in this? Because to fire an ambassador, you can't just do it president to ambassador. The whole senior echelon of the State Department has to be involved in some way in the firing of a credible, competent ambassador for political reasons. I mean, how often does that happen with no resignations? In a normal administration, you get a bunch of resignations if that would ever happen.
Bullshit.
Please. Are they
okay? First of all, the woman was she did her. Most of these ambassadors, if you look over the list of all ambassadors, they all stay in office about 3 to 4 years max.
Yeah, they got to get out.
Usually, it's about three and a half years, and she was at the end of her term. But more importantly, is an article that I pulled down from Brooks is full of crap. This is another a lie. Friday, January 20th, 2017. And this was a report on the day before Trump's inauguration. Headline: Donald Trump has fired all U.S. foreign ambassadors with nobody to replace them.
Right.
Yeah, the day before he got inaugurated, he fired all the ambassadors. And now the article, which is in the Independent UK publication, they bitch and moan about the fact that, this happens all the time, and they usually set these guys up for the 3 to 4 year period, so it's going to happen with the next guy when he gets in. And apparently everybody does this, but they usually have somebody in mind to fill the jobs. Normally, patronage.
A big donor. A big donor.
Yeah, big donor goes here. A big donor goes there. Like one of the Barzoon, I think, was the guy who was England. He quit like a week before. He was a big donor, a packager, a bundler for Obama, and he quit like a week before Trump got in. But they all did, except this one woman. She stuck around for some reason. She never quit. She finally quit when her term was kind of up in May. It wasn't like he just fired her last week, which is what everyone wants to think. This is really poorly done in terms of like an execution.
It's just untruthful, and no, it's not. I don't know if they're I don't know if these guys are lying or they're just stupid. But everybody knows how ambassadorships work. That's exactly the point. And then to say, "Oh no, the whole State Department has to weigh in. Now, this is a career politician." Please, she was apparently looking, trolling social media, making sure that no one was saying anything bad, which the Republicans and Fox News called spying, but it's just the whole thing. I'm so tired. I don't even want to talk about Ukraine because it's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. It's they just want to get impeachment going. And we're right back at the beginning of the show where we started. That's all that this is about.
There's another stream of news I was pointing out earlier, which is these untold news stories, that aren't really getting a lot of play, like Mexico going for marijuana.
Yeah.
I want to balance a little bit with some American stories that are seemingly even more important.
Okay.
And you have to listen to this. This is Savannah Guthrie and Hoda talking about poor Matt Lauer and the fact that he butt raped some woman that used to work at NBC. And this is the big news at NBC.
You're always so nuanced.
For 12 years, and I don't know if you guys have ever felt like that.
Wow, what happened there? I think something's wrong with the beginning of your clip, but it starts here, I guess.
I feel like we owe it to our viewers to pause for a moment. This is shocking and appalling, and I honestly don't even know what to say about it. I want to say that I know it wasn't easy for our colleague Brooke to come forward then. It's not easy now. And we support her and any women who have come forward with claims. And it's just very painful for all of us at NBC and who are at the Today Show. And, it's very, very, very difficult.
I'm looking at you and I'm having a weird moment that we were sitting here just like this 2 years ago. And truth be told, Savannah and I did a little prayer upstairs just before, just to sort of sort out what we were going to do. And I think it's like you feel like you've known someone for 12 years, and I don't know if you guys have ever felt like that. You know someone, you know them, you feel like you know them inside and out, and then all of a sudden, like, a door opens up, and it's a part of them you didn't know. And we don't know all the facts in all of this, but there are not allegations of an affair, there are allegations of a crime. And I think that's shocking to all of us here who've sat with Matt for many, many years. So I think we're going to just sort of continue to process this part of this horrific story. And as you said, our thoughts are with Brooke. It's not easy what she did to come forward. It's not easy at all.
No. And, I think I speak for all of us. We're disturbed to our core.
Yeah.
And we have a commitment to keep you informed, and we will continue to do that.
Okay. If I may, first of all, they are pawns in this game. They're being told to focus entirely on Matt Lauer and not on the actual issue at hand. Last night, Megyn Kelly, I did not clip it, but she showed up for she's like half of the show, Tucker Carlson Tonight. By the way, Megyn Kelly, back to short hair, looks dynamite. And they even showed some old clips of her at, her daytime show at NBC. And she just looks, it's Megyn, she's like, wow, this is, and I think she's 48, almost 50, just fabulous, looks great, looks happy. And she's on the warpath. And what she's saying is, and this, of course, is only being discussed now because of Ronan Farrow's book, which I have not read. I have ordered it. Which busted open this rape, this story about this rape. But Megyn Kelly's issue, and I think it's a valid one, she said, look, And that's exactly what she said. She said, look, many times. This happened at Fox with Roger Ailes, independent outside investigation. Happened over at NPR in the Me Too movement, independent outside investigation. Happened at PBS, independent, although rigged, outside investigation to get rid of Tavis Smiley. CBS, Les Moonves, Charlie, it's in your DNA. Charlie Rose, external investigation. NBC, internal investigation. Nothing to see here. It's all good. These women are going to be very, very, very upset when it turns out that they knew this too. NBC News knew about this. The bosses knew about it. They were covering up for Harvey Weinstein because they didn't want the lid to blow off of it, which, of course, was to protect their star anchor, Matt Lauer. NBC, not only should they be ashamed of themselves, they should start with their own investigation from outside the company. Have an independent person come in and then really say, okay, nothing to see here. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. And it's much worse. And I bet these women were harassed by Matt Lauer or others as well.
I'm sure they were. But this brings us to the Chris Hayes rant.
Oh, brother, you got one of those too? Beautiful. Okay.
Well, Chris Hayes, this is, I think, a career killer, or should be.
Yeah.
But Chris Hayes decides that he's going to chime in on this. And first of all, he maybe thinks he can get away with, like, somehow he blames Trump a little bit. He comes up with some bullshit theme, but then he goes into it and he blames NBC for this cover up because I guess he was good pals with Ronan.
After a single tweet in support of the Hong Kong protesters by a Houston Rockets executive, the NBA has scrambled to lock down any other signs of criticism of the Chinese government, hoping to preserve access to an extremely lucrative and growing market for the sport. Now, of course, this kind of shying away from confrontation, choosing the path of least resistance, quite familiar in the news because it's what so many Republican members of Congress do every day when confronted with the bile, bigotry, and rank corruption and abuse of power with the man who's the head of their party. But it's important to note that it is not limited to them. In fact, the insidious destructive force of the path of least resistance is everywhere you look. Heck, I feel the tug of it myself as my own news organization is embroiled in a very public controversy over its conduct. As you've probably seen in his new book, Catch and Kill, my former colleague Ronan Farrow contends that NBC News slow-walked and then ultimately killed his reporting on Harvey Weinstein's sexual harassment and assault because it was intimidated by Weinstein and didn't want to cross him. Most distressingly, Farrow suggests NBC News was worried about the allegations of sexual assault and harassment against Matt Lauer coming out as a result of reporting on Weinstein and desperately wanted to avoid that. In Farrow's view, he was unable to break through what was effectively a conspiracy of silence from NBC News management. Now, NBC News vigorously denies this account. The president.
Sorry, say what?
He smacks his lips every time he goes to a new paragraph.
It is annoying.
In Farrow's.
But not the only thing annoying. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry about that. Somehow the clip dumped out.
No.
Yeah,
after path of least resistance is everywhere you look. Heck, I feel the tug of it myself as my own news organization is embroiled in a very public controversy over its conduct. As you've probably seen in his new book, Catch and Kill, my former colleague Ronan Farrow contends that NBC News slow-walked and then ultimately killed his reporting on Harvey Weinstein's sexual harassment and assault because it was intimidated by Weinstein and didn't want to cross him. Most distressingly, Farrow suggests NBC News was worried about the allegations of sexual assault and harassment against Matt Lauer coming out as a result of reporting on Weinstein and desperately wanted to avoid that. In Farrow's view, he was unable to break through what was effectively a conspiracy of silence from NBC News management. Now, NBC News vigorously denies this account. The president of NBC News, Noah Oppenheim, called Farrow's book a conspiracy theory in a memo sent out today, citing an internal NBC investigation that concluded that the extremely upsetting allegations against Lauer were not known internally at NBC. NBC has called any suggestion it did no false and offensive. And Oppenheim and others have also maintained since Farrow's departure 2 years ago, the Weinstein story was never broadcast because it lacked sufficient on-the-record sourcing, even after NBC supported Farrow's assignment for 7 months. One thing, though, is indisputable. Ronan Farrow walked out of NBC News after working on the Weinstein story and within 2 months published an incredible article, The New Yorker, that not only won a Pulitzer, but helped trigger a massive social and cultural reckoning that continues to this day. It is the kind of journalism that you want to do as a journalist, that everyone who works in this business should want to facilitate. Of course, there's a reason it took so long for the true story about Weinstein to be told, for the many allegations of him to stay locked in a vault. And that's because time and again, the path of least resistance for those with power was to not cross Weinstein or his army of friends and lawyers. Same goes for the many, many, many other powerful predators that we've come to know about. The path of least resistance is always there, beckoning seductively with an entirely plausible cover story. You've got bigger fish to fry. This isn't the hill to die on. The story isn't ready. But of course, it's the very ease of that path that makes it the enemy, the kind of work that we as journalists are supposed to do.
Sounds like
this thing is chickened out with this path of least resistance thesis. But it's still pretty rude. If I was the head of news at the company, and if you assume they are the douchebags they are, which is obvious, I'd be very irked by this.
No, I disagree.
You think it was a setup to make them look good?
Oh, yeah,
but he's such a weak link in the whole operation.
No, but that's why, hey, we've got to do something official. We've got to show that we have integrity. We got to show we got integrity. How do we do that? Well, let's not use Rachel. We don't want to besmirch her with any of this. No, she has to stay pristine. She's our star. Can't do that. Okay. How about the other lesbian? Yeah, we'll give it to him. No one cares about him. Let him do it. Bleh. They didn't put this on prime time. Chris Hayes is not prime time.
I'm not going to dispute the possibility that thinking existed. I'm hoping it didn't.
Well, I'm hoping that a lot more comes out. The NBC it's no secret what goes on in media companies. You've worked in them. I've worked in them. But what was going on at NBC with management on top of all this, knowing about it, that's really pretty inexcusable. And heads will roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Probably not.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
We do have a few people to shank for show.
Hey, I'm going to shank you for your donation. Let me shank you for that.
Show 1182.
Shank you. That's a show title.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Gary
Freudian slip. The truth wants to come out. Mm-hmm.
Gary Alexander's at the top of the list. He's he's in Dubai, Arab Emirates, as we speak.
Oh, nice.
$133.33. Gary Ferris, or Fars or Ferris, I think it's Ferris. $112.12 in Spring Valley, California. It's pronounced Ferris. Well, that's what okay.
There you go.
And he needs a de-douching.
Okay.
You've been de-douched.
Lavender Blossoms at lavenderblossoms dot something.
Oh,
what is
Cal, lavenderblossoms.org. Yes.
.org in Northfield, Michigan. Send us $111.11. This is where you want to get all your CBD products.
That's right. Thank you, Cal.
Lavenderblossoms.org. Joseph Harrell in Moyock, North Carolina, 100. Jake Kenyon in Morayfield, Australia.
And he has a note in the Morning Crackpot and Buzzkill with this donation of 100 USD, which is 10,000 in Aussie dollaroos. Actually, $154.47. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
150. Okay. This will make me a knight of the best podcast in the universe. Accounting below, I'd like to be known as Sir Jake the IT Bogan, as I'm a dude named Ben and enjoy... Oh, it got cut off. Do you have anything else there?
No, and I'm a dude named Ben and enjoy. That's what it says.
Oh, man. Do you think he sent more? Let me just see. Kenyon. Let me see if I got anything from him in the email.
But you do have his title there, so that's
I got his title, but I don't see any email from him. So maybe that was just it. Let me read. I'm a dude named Ben, and enjoy. Well, thank you, Jake.
It could be.
And we'll be looking forward to bringing you up to the round table in just minutes from now.
Laura Wilson's on the list with $100, and she's got a birthday call out for Tim, and that'll be coming up. Brandon Foster, 75. Gust van Poppel.
Gust
van Poppel in Norway, 75.
Also a birthday shout out.
He's got a birthday shout out. There's another name I can't pronounce.
Alkis Alpha. That's Alkis Alphas. Sounds like a Norwegian name.
Yeah. Sure
his first. It's his human resource, I guess. His first trip around the sun, October 14th. Maybe it's
nice.
He was just born. It's a new human resource.
Yay. Jamie Christensen, $60.23. Jason Titbaum. Really? Oh, Titcomb. It says Titbomb, and then I look over, it says from Titcomb.
that's Eric the Shill having fun with us.
Could be.
Or the truth wants to come out with Eric the Shill. Mm-hmm.
55, Cape Elizabeth, Maine. Dean Roker, 55.10. Matthew Grice, $50.50. And then which is also $73 Australian. Which is 73. So that's the Australian ham.
That's right. Oh, that's VK3FNG. 73's KF5 ACC.
John Holler in Missoula, Montana comes in with 50, and the following donors are all $50 donors. Not a big list of anybody today. Hopefully you guys can bring up the slack for the Sunday show. Michael Burlett in Odessa, Florida. Keith Yarborough, $50 from Austin, Texas, a friend of yours down the street. Chris Lewinsky in Sherwood Park, Alberta. He's been a Sir Chris Lewinsky for years.
Yes.
David Timmons in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He's got some sort of birthday thing. And it is going to Cassidy's knighthood.
Let's see. This is for Cassidy Eastwood's knighthood for her birthday. I've donated $50 towards Cassidy's donation. Total 10/14/19, which is also her birthday. Okay, she is all about hitting people in the mouth, as I often have conversations with her about jumping others and hitting them in the mouth. She's a great planner. Speaking of which, she also has been pretty active in Oklahoma City meetups as well, which is awesome. Anyway, I feel like my $50 isn't enough, and I am poor, so could someone maybe help out and get this no agenda-ite closer to damehood, since my $50, along with her previous donations, puts her at $533.33. She is a great person, has a very good-sized amygdala. That's a nice way of saying something about a woman, isn't it? She's got a nice-sized amygdala. And deserves the seat at the table more than myself and many others. If nothing else, please send her a very happy birthday. I love the Dame Drive. It's nice. We're getting the dames on board. Dame Drive it is. Thank you, David. Very nice of you.
Dame Drive. Dame Drive. Adam Morey continues with Middleton, Maryland, 50. John Camp in Antlers, Oklahoma. Joe DeRuin, which I'm sure is a knight. Sir Joel in Savannah, Georgia. Savannah, GA.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Drykeson in Oshkosh, Bagosh, Wisconsin, 50. Gerald Preston, 50. David Timmons in Oklahoma City, another Oklahoma City person. Well, wait a minute. He's on here twice for some unknown reason.
Oh, no, I guess that would his 50 for himself and 50 for Cassidy.
Okay, well then,
yeah.
Good enough. And also Scott Lavender, another Lavender guy. Montgomery, Texas. He's down by you. And last but not least, Brad Taylor in Duval, Washington. I want to thank all these folks for supporting the show and producing Show 1181. And we have another show coming up on Sunday. Don't forget us.
Yeah. Well, instead of that, I'd say remember us. That might stick a little longer. But yes, please do. And thank you to the people who supported us today. Short list. Luckily, we had a great executive producership come in, Insta Dame, Insta Night. We do hope that you consider our value for value proposition. You listen to us for a couple hours. Did you get anything out of it? Could you have spent your time on? What would that have cost? What is your time worth to you? That's all we ask. For some, it's a couple pennies. For some, it's a couple dollars. For some, it's 10. Whatever it is, that's what we want you to do in returning the value. It's our value for value system. You can find out more at
Dvorak.org/value.
Ah, yes, some karmas are requested in our Dame Drive.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
There is nothing like a day. Nothing in the world. Gimbo Nation will acclaim. There ain't anything like a day. It's a birthday on No Agenda.
Ah, yes. Today being the 17th of October, 2019, we do have a few people on the birthday list to congratulate. Laura Wilson says happy birthday to Tim White in Lee's Summit, Missouri. He turned 50 on the 14th of October. Gust Van Poppel says happy birthday to Alkis Alphas, also celebrated on the 14th. And David Timmons says happy birthday to Cassidy Eastwood of Oklahoma City. We say happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe.
No Agenda Meetup.
It's like a party. Yes, on the meetup list, we're going to run through it real quick. We've got quite a lot. We have this coming Saturday, San Antonio October meetup, 5:30. That'll be Andrew White organizing that. Also on the 19th, Santa Fe, New Mexico at 2 o'clock with Dame Heather of the Lost Boys. She says, meet at the Baker Room. Saturday, Atlanta, Georgia, local 404 at 3:33 Eastern Daylight Time. Hudson Grill. Alicia Caranos is your host. Saturday, Orlando, 7 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Rock and Brews on South Saramon Boulevard, just north of Orlando International Airport. Brandon E is your contact there. Brand new to the list. For the 20th of November, Michigan Local 1, Gunpowder Get Together, number 3, and that'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Gunpowder Get Together, the only No Agenda meetup where triggering is mandatory. I guess they're going shooting.
Nice.
That's very nice. That'll be at the Linden Sportsman's Club in Linden, Missouri.
That'll be fun.
Douchebag Pat will be your host. The 20th, Sunday, Mason-Dixon Meetup, Louisville, Kentucky. High noon, upstairs space at Monarch Beer Company. Sir Mittens of Falls City organizing that. Nashville, Tennessee on the 24th. This is the Tennessee Hallow Meetup, 6 o'clock at Mas Tacos. Rich B organizing for you. Friday the 25th, Oregon Local 33, Portland number 4. 6:30 Pacific Daylight Time, Fecklin Brewery and Smokehouse. Tim, your executive producer from episode 962, is your host. On the 25th as well, Charlotte, North Carolina, 7:30, Sycamore Brewing, Bile Cameron hosting for you. The 26th, Nashville, Tennessee, 7:30. Now it says AM. I'm going to think that's PM. But we can check it on noagendameetups.com. Oh, no, it is. It's AM, breakfast before Politicon. That's why we have 2 meetups in Nashville close together. So Politicon 2019 is in Nashville. They're doing a breakfast meetup, 7:30 at the Sun Diner. Anthony is your host. Colorado Springs Local 719, meetup at the Phantom Canyon Brewing Company. Andrew Jones is organizing for you. And also a new entry for Sunday the 27th, No Agenda Local 1, brunch at Plymouth, Michigan. 11 a.m., Stella's Sidetrack, formerly known as Station 885. Sir Timothy of the No Fixed Title, Baron of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, is your host for that. Please go to noagendameetups.com to learn all about the meetups that you just heard about, or if you'd like to organize your own. And I wanted to say hi to Fab and let me see, I think it was Fab and one other person who showed up at the Hamburg Douchebags meetup that was at the Barley and Malt in Hamburg's Old Harbor District. Due to the meetup being planned on short notice and not having been announced on the show, probably because of short notice, only myself and douchebag Brigadier Bradshaw were in attendance. Aside from the small number of people present, we feel it was a very successful meetup with hours of discussion about smartphone zombies, douchebag millennials, grumpy server admins, and the vagaries of NTP configs. How could you not want to go to one of these meetups? This is where you want to be. NoAgendaMeetups.com. Thank you for everybody who organizes, who attends, and thanks for Mimi for putting the whole good list together. And that's it for our meetups. Now we do have we've got 2 knightings, 1 daming, so I need the blade from you, Mr. Dvorak.
I got a big blade.
A big blade. Up on the podium, Jacob Hopper, Corey Stringer, and Jake Kenyon. All 3 of you have reached that pinnacle. It is the round table of the No Agenda Knights and Dames. This is due to your contributions to the show in the amount of $1,000 or more, and I am very proud to pronounce the case the Sir Jacob, Guardian of the Limburg Coast, Dame Corey, Lady of Ten Boom, and Sir Jake, the IT Bogan. For you, we have the requisite nourishment at the round table of hookers and blow, rent boys and Chardonnay, blote billetjes in het gras stampot, vitamin E vapes and vodka. Vodka and vanilla, parliaments and pale ale, organic macaroni and plasticizers, ginger ale and gerbils, and of course, mutton and mead. I love that cough button. You can go to No Agenda Nation. It's just dry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you need some water.
Yeah, I do. I tried to cover it up, but
Gulp, 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 gulp.
Yes. Go to noagendanation.com/rings and welcome to the round table. A brand new dame as the Dame Drive continues. More dames, more of the time, right here on your No Agenda show. That's your cue. That's your cue to pick it up.
Yeah, well, I'm picking it up. So while you're coughing,
yes,
I got a couple more clips to get out of here with.
Okay.
First of all, get back to American news. The big scandal, of course, was this video that was shown to 5 guys in a closet. And I guess one of the guys was triggered by it.
Well,
and so
I don't know anything about this story. What video? This is news to me.
Oh, there was you like the movie Kingsman?
Yes. Yeah, I like 1 and 2,
There's
sure.
a church scene. This is actually a video. I think it was produced and put out on the.
I've seen this video. Now I know what video you're talking about.
Yeah, it's been around. It's not new.
So they took the church scene from the Kingsman, where a lot of people get killed in horrific ways, and they posted mainstream
Trump's
media
head
logos
on the guy.
mainstream media logos on the victims. Yes.
Yeah, and a couple of politicians.
It's an outrage. It's an outrage.
Scandal they don't know what to do with, but it's grounds for impeachment the way I see it.
Of course.
And we do have one of the local news stations that covered it for a minute and 46. There's actually a long report.
Wow.
And then you can't really show much of the video because
it's so too violent, yes.
It's too harsh on the eyeballs. But here's the report on the violent video so you can all keep up.
And now onto a shocking, violent, and quite frankly, offensive video surfacing in a New York Times report. They say this video depicting the president shooting and stabbing opponents and media outlets was shown at Trump Doral last week.
The president's son, Donald Trump Jr., was at that event, and now we're hearing from him.
Let's get right to Local 10's Amy Viteri in the newsroom with that video that's receiving wide condemnation on social media. Amy.
Well, Louis, the video, which was reportedly not shown in the main ballroom, spoofs a scene from a movie and shows the president shooting his critics and the press. Now, here is the video that is being shared on social media. It is a doctored version of a scene from the movie Kingsman, starring Colin Firth. The president's face is superimposed over Firth's character as he shoots and stabs those with superimposed media outlet logos, and some Democratic members of Congress, such as Maxine Waters, who you saw there a couple moments ago. At one point, the late Senator John McCain is depicted being stabbed. Now, the White House Correspondents Association also commenting on the video in a statement, saying all Americans should condemn this depiction of violence directed toward journalists and the president's political opponents. We call on everybody to denounce this video and affirm that violence has no place in our society. A spokesman for Donald Jr. told the New York Times, quote, Don hasn't seen the video and was unaware of its existence until the recent media reports about it, but he strongly condemns the type of disgusting and graphic violence purported to be depicted in the video against members of the media. Regardless of political party, we should all reject any and all violence in our politics, whether it's directed toward members of the media, politicians, the family members of politicians, or political activists. The president's re-election campaign says the video was not produced by the campaign and that they do not condone violence. Louis.
You know, I was talking about our value for value model and, what is the time that we entertained you or informed you? What is it worth to you? And this is 1 minute and 46 seconds that, I mean, we'll never get that back. That is the first of all, the video is a year old. This doctored. It's doctored. It's violent. No one had a problem with the movie where they were killing churchgoers.
That is the point I want to make. How come the actual movie itself, which is incredible, it's funny, violent.
Yeah, of
course,
but
it's violent.
Yes.
Nobody says jack about that.
No.
And then nobody said anything about the orange bullets.
No. You have to wear your Q glasses. You can't understand the bullets. The orange bullets don't work unless you got Q vision. This it won't take much longer. But the only loser right now is the mainstream media. The mainstream news has lost all credibility. It will not matter. You see the ratings the way they are now. It's only going to get less. It will no longer be profitable. I'm still kind of thankful that Mike, the My Pillow guy, is keeping Tucker Carlson on the air. I think he has interesting guests. That's always fun to watch.
Did you see when Trump was in Minnesota, he called out Mike, because I guess Mike's up in that area.
Dude,
Mike is in the audience.
Mike is an American hero.
And so he calls him out, and he goes on and on about what a great advertiser, and the guy who really knows how to buy ads.
Well, he does. He's all over the Fox has been so deplatformed, particularly Tucker Carlson. I'm surprised he's on the air at all. But yeah, I think Mike, the My Pillow guy, is, and it's a long spot. I think it's 2.5 minute spot. It runs every commercial break. That's all they got.
It's terrible. It's really,
but this is
it's gross.
They don't even understand what they're doing. We are the future of news. And why are we the future of news? I'll tell you why. Because we have boots on the ground worldwide. Last night we did another NAMS PrepNet. If you want to join those and you're a ham radio operator, join the NAMS. That's NAMS, N-A-M-S, short for No Agenda Hams. Go to k5acc.com to find out how you can get on the All-Star Link network. There's always 10 to 15 hams who are checking in. We have multiple truck drivers. We got all kinds of cool reports and people talking amongst themselves. This is all something that the mainstream can no longer do. They don't regard the audience as a part of the process. If you want any secret about podcasting, please take it from us. You want to involve your audience, and don't use words like engagement, interactive. No, we have producers, thousands of them. They happen to be the people who listen. They have a stake in the game. This is their show. They finance it. They produce it. They help with stories. They help with background, with information, lots of expertise. That's what the mainstream is losing out on. And they're going to, there's just a big circle jerk everywhere. There's mainstream, certainly mainstream news. And it's going to end. It will eventually just go away, and they'll all be going like, what happened? I don't understand. We should get some subsidies or something. Something's not good.
Oh, that's
with it.
right. That's what's going to happen. That's what happens in Canada right now. They're pushing for subsidies because they can't carry the load.
Did you see...
That you didn't say skin in the game, by the way.
No,
for some reason that phrase really irks me.
Yeah, I stayed away from that. Senator Blumenthal had something to say about journalists, and I'm just wondering if he really wants to include this in his new protected class. He has a bill in that is going to protect journos.
We know from the incidents that have occurred in the past, and in fact, some of these attacks on journalists have been fatal, that there is a segment of the population that feels an antipathy toward the press that they express verbally in threats and also at the extreme physically in direct attacks on the press. So what we have to address is the continuing threat of physical violence, whether by guns or other means, against the press that may intimidate them in their vital news-gathering operation. It is a priority for me to protect news-gathering operations, no matter what their form.
Okay.
And the act that we're proposing would in fact establish a federal crime when someone threatens or attacks anyone doing fact gathering or news operations. That is the purpose of this bill. It would be punishable if it's bodily injury by up to 3 years, serious bodily injury by up to 6 years, and a fine. And news gathering is broadly defined to include book writing, magazine, obviously photography, any kind of media that involves communication with the public.
Hey man, back off. I'm an Instagram influencer. I take photographs. I'm protected.
Oh, hold on a second. This is interesting because there's a number of areas where if you're taking photographs, the cops will come over and bash you in the head.
That's right. And then they can go to jail for 3 years.
Yeah. This will be, they're going to have to deal with that. I have to look at this bill when they finalize it.
Yeah, you know, that annoys me so much. I'm always seeing announcements of bills. I saw that Maxine Waters has announced a bill. It's gone into committee, so we're not allowed to see the text yet, which will end homelessness. Okay, I know. Speaking of which, and this will be my last for today, we have another big meeting here in the hamlet of Austin, Texas. We pretend to be a big-ass city, but we're really just a bunch of country bumpkins here in the hamlet, and with a lot of libjos running around. So tonight on the docket, once again, is the conversation of whether we should rescind and reject and overturn and reinstate the no camping, no lie ban so that we don't drown in feces and needles like some other places we know. This has to happen before November 1st. Otherwise, the governor of Texas has said, "Oh, come in." In fact, it was a big story last night.
Governor Greg Abbott says he is not bluffing. He says if the city doesn't reverse course, major state agencies will move into Austin November 1st to clean up areas of town where homeless people camp.
They include DPS troopers, transportation, and state health services. KXAN's political reporter Phil Prazen is back with an interview you'll only see here on KXAN.
I spent 3 days in Dallas, Texas, the past few days, and covered almost every area of downtown Dallas. There was not one person out camping, not one person laying on the street, no feces on the ground. They have more homeless in Dallas than they have in Austin, Texas, because they have an orderly process. They go about making sure that the what's going on in downtown Austin has not taken place in downtown Dallas. They have more than enough money to solve the problems. They just need to step up and address it and show leadership. Second thing then they should do is stop the hypocrisy. Why do they set one rule for the homeless to be able to roam around any place they want to, but they say, oh, no, not at City Hall? If they really care about the homeless, the first thing the city of Austin should do is to say the City Hall is the place you should come to. Lie around City Hall, come inside as opposed to being exposed to the heat or the cold outside. Come inside City Hall. You need access to running water? Come inside City Hall. Use our water, use our plumbing, sleep in our parking garage. Austin needs to stop the hypocrisy.
Them's fighting words. Yeah, them's fighting words from Governor Abbott. I think there's another piece of evidence that came across my desk from our producers that disturbs me a bit, as this may be what's going on in Austin. It may only be specific to Austin. So while all this is playing out, while we have the only solution to the homelessness problem, according to the City Council, our leaders, as we call them in Austin, our leaders. Leader Adler, please tell me, is to build more affordable housing. We have a vote coming up on voting day, election day. I don't think we're voting, or I won't vote for any officials, but we do have a proposition. And there's one thing that's been on. I've seen it on the ballot at least 3 years.
I can see this coming. Go on.
It's called Code Next. And Code Next is a complete... it's failed 2 previous years, but now I see the signs in the yards again. Code Next! We need Code Next! And it sounds kind of cool. Shit, I don't want Code Next. Code Next is a complete rezoning, redistricting plan for the city of Austin. Here's the troubling part. So they say we don't have enough middle housing, whatever that means. So I guess you've got the downtown, you have kind of in the center, you've got your apartment buildings and your condos, and then you move out. And on the edges, way on the edges, you've got single-family homes, and in the middle, you've got all this other stuff. And the zoning had already been changed, as I think we've talked about when the keeper and I were looking for a house. You'd find that there's a rezoning has already taken place in Austin where you can put 2 homes in their own little mini homeowners association, so they're connected by one wall or maybe a common roof or a garage. And so then you can build 2 homes on a lot intended for a single home. Code Next actually would make single-family home lots a thing of history in Austin. And in the corridors that they've outlined on the map, the transition zones and corridors, whatever that means, it's basically everywhere. Middle housing will be zoned by allowing for single-family home lots to contain buildings that can house up to 4 families and can be 60 feet high and can take up 2 to 5 lots. So they want to completely overpopulate all of the surrounding areas of Austin under the auspices of we need affordable housing. And of course, is what's going to happen with that. It's not going to go to any homeless people, but all of Austin could be these horrible fourplexes, triplexes and fourplexes.
Fourplexes are fine if they're here and there. Isn't this part of Agenda 21 or some process where they're trying to eliminate single home owners in the United States or in the world?
Totally part of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and this is just a scheme to start that process. So screw you homeowners. If you have a home, too bad.
They can forcibly make you change. If your home is X amount of years old, there's all these. You will not be able to buy a house, which I'm okay with. People who buy a tear down. So and there's a lot of tear down situations in Austin. We've got a lot of these older homes from the turn of the century, and if the land is much more valuable than the home, you won't be able to tear that down unless you're going to build a triplex or a quadplex. And it's going to ruin the character of Austin, and it's just going to house, tech workers.
Yeah, tech workers are probably the worst because they're just like busy bees, and they'll just move into overpriced apartments and share. There's a couple of operations in San Francisco where there's 10 people and 10 people living in a small space with special bunk beds all set up.
Yeah,
only costs $1,000 a month.
But I'm kind of connecting these two, and I feel that they're trying to hold off on this because they want to possibly, because again, Code Next has failed in.
How about voting no?
Well, no, but I think they're going to try. What I think we'll find out tonight. Tonight we have another, the big Council City meeting. I think what they may be trying to do is to say, we really want to build affordable housing, but we can't. We got to zone it. You got to vote yes for Code Next. I'm telling you, this is coming. These guys are so cynically evil. I wouldn't put it past them that that's what's going on. In the meantime, we got poop on the streets. As some people have boots on the ground, we got poop on the ground, as Governor Abbott said. And we'll see what he does, and we'll see what happens tonight. I will have a report on Sunday's show.
Sounds good to me. You want one last clip before we leave?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, I have, there's Extinction Rebellion. One of the big bitches and moans that went on about the debates you've heard on Democracy Now! Is they brought on expert after expert moaning and groaning about how none of the questioners asked anything about climate change, which is really the most important topic.
Yeah, I mean, it's existential threat. How could we not?
It's an existential threat. So the Existence Rebellion people, and I'm going to ask just a rhetorical question. What is the deal with dragging boats through the street and then propping them up someplace in the middle of town? They did it in London and they've done it in New York. And so I have this is the XR protest in New York City with a person, a young woman who goes on and on about how she's going to die.
Protesters were arrested Thursday after shutting down an intersection in the heart of Times Square as part of a climate action organized by Extinction Rebellion.
My name is Isabel. I'm a student at NYU, and I'm incredibly scared at the state of our world. And we're in the middle of a sixth mass extinction, and we have to act now. Clearly, just posting on Facebook and tweeting about it is not creating any change. And the only way to create change is to stop business as usual, so that leaders listen and create policies and Green New Deals.
Did she say Green New Deals, plural? Need more than one Green New Deal?
Yeah, Green New Deals. She did use plural.
Oh, nice.
And we're all going to die. And she's at NYU. I mean, what are the students being taught at the colleges today?
Well, this morning I saw some video from London. The Londoners are tired of the Extinction Rebellion people who, of course, have been lying on top of the subway trains and other trains. Now the public has taken over. They're ripping these people down. It's beautiful to watch. And the crowd is just cheering, like, yeah, get off of there, you morons. Because they're holding up traffic. Like, you die on your own time with your Extinction Rebellion. Whew. So much to deconstruct. But don't worry. Because of this program, which is your production, your amygdala.
We'll keep doing it.
And your amygdala stays healthy inside. And we shall return on Sunday with another edition of the best podcast in the universe. It's right there in the Mueller Report. If you don't believe me, go ahead and take a look. Just read it. I think it was also mentioned in the Ukraine transcript.
Could be.
Yeah. I don't know. No one read it, so why would we know?
Space Force.
Please remember us for our show on Sunday and support the program at Dvorak.org/NA. Coming up next on the No Agenda stream, Nick the Rat with Tales from the Sewer, Part 3. And coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 here on the frontier of Austin, Texas. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, where we say, go Brexit, I'm John C. Dvorak.
Special thanks to Tom Starkweather, Jesse Coy Nelson, and Lee O. LePuke for our end-of-show mixes. Until Sunday, everybody. Until then, adios, mofos! And such.
Raise your hands. Guess what? So if you're asking me, I don't need lessons from you on courage.
Completely despicable. Senator Warren, I just want to say that I was surprised to hear that you did not agree with me.
I got votes for that bill. If all we can do is take their money, we should be ashamed about it.
Well, first of all, let me say this. Senator Sanders is right.
I am not going to give these police officers another reason to go door to door in certain communities.
And we're not stopping there. How many of you have noticed stores closing where you work and live here in Ohio? Raise your hands. Guess what?
You are making Republican talking points right now in this room.
You make it to the top 0.1%, then pitch in 2 cents.
Demonizing wealth people. What I talked about is how you get things done.
But I want to give a reality check here to Elizabeth.
When we're talking about him, we are losing. We need to present a new vision, and that even includes talking about impeaching Donald Trump.
What we have to do now is focus on Donald Trump. He doesn't want me to be the candidate. He's going after me because he knows if I get the nomination, I will beat him like a drum.
Well, we heard it tonight. A yes or no question that didn't get a yes or no answer.
That's a mischaracterization, Anderson. I've got to answer this.
I'm going to say something that is probably going to offend some people here, but...
Start the music. Don't go there.
Woohoo! Yeah!
Bingo. Bingo.
Bing, 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 bing.
You should Google it. Bing it, in your case.
Hey.
Bing it, baby.
The Bing.
Oh, the Bings. Google doesn't show that. I should use Bing from now on. You should Bing that real quick.
Let me Bing it.
Yeah, Bing it.
I gotta check this piece of crap out. It's a scam.
Abuse me. I should use Bing. Let me switch to Bing.
Bing, my... Switching to Bing.
Switching to Bing. Switching to Bing. Stand by.
Switching to Bing. Switching to Bing. I'm really switching to Bing. I'm going to Bing it, baby. Bing.
That was some weird shit.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
This is shameful.